The roots of history run deep through Stafford, Virginia. We've raised leaders, featured artists, and honored those heroes among us. We've learned from the battles fought, and we look to the future with hope. We take this time to focus on what makes us exceptional, while constantly remembering where we came from. We're always open to fresh ideas and innovation, and savor all of the flavor at our fingertips. We find inspiration in our craftsmanship, and there's always a hidden gem around every corner. Find yours. Rediscover Stafford.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KFL Week 6. Let's go ahead and get everyone started. Wake up, have your go juice, and let's get everyone on the water and have some good fish catching today. So Jim Johnston coming to you. Hope everyone's having a good morning this morning, out on the water safely with their PFDs on. Lines are wet, and hopefully on some bass already. You know, in spite of what's going on with the weather, I know things are going to turn around today because of this big storm we just had in the local region. Now, wherever you're at, wherever that may be, hopefully you have some good weather to bring you on the fish as well, because lately I know the tough bite has been the priority of all talk and all discussions. So last week, leaving out of week 5, I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out to those undefeated teams that we have right now. So it looks like there are 3 undefeated teams so far in the KFL coming out of week 5. The Alabama Hammers, the Lone Star Bandits, and of course, the Motor City Ambassadors. What does that mean for this week as we head in? Well, there's a lot of things that are on the board right now. You got the Privateers against the Warhawks, and of course, representing out of Virginia. Then you got Southeast Texas Rough Riders against the Arkansas Hogs, Louisiana Hurricanes against the Bandits, Carolina Casters against the Florida Copperheads. And of course, it looks like we've already got some teams up on the board with this already. But as I move on down the list here, Motor City Ambassadors are taking on the Appalachian Anglers, and our very own Greg Nozar already is on the board. God, you got to love that. You know, this is one of those things where, let me go ahead and bring him in. Oh, he's already in the stream right now. This is one of those things where you see something happening so early, and it's a lot of success. It seems like it's something that happened at the tail end of the storm. What do you think, Greg?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It seems like you have already having a good bit of luck this morning.
Nothing big, but in this case, man, the way this river's fishing, I'll take it, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't doubt that. I would too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so,
yeah.
You know, after all that storm that blew in yesterday, that was a monster storm. It knocked our power out here.
Oh my gosh, the electricity in that storm was unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy. I love storms like that. I think summer storms are probably one of the most soothing and calming things. I can sit there and just watch it all day long as it happens and all night long. Right.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, we're fighting off boat traffic already, and there's another tournament, NVKBA tournament going on right now, man. So it's tough. There's my partner.
Yeah,
Hogan.
the man, the myth, the legend,
what's going
the
on?
angler, Mr. Big Money Mike Hogan.
Yeah, buddy.
What's going on today?
What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. You know, I had no idea. So, a little background. Mike and I have fished many times together, and we're also out of the NVKBA as well, which I know, Greg, you were talking about how they have their own little bit and put a little bit more pressure on the water there. Mike representing KFL today. I got to say, you know, I can't show favorites, nor would I, but you know, 2 great anglers on the board right now, or right on the screen right now. A lot of love for you guys. I wish you all the best today, and included all the anglers that are out there representing KFL.
Well,
and NVKBA, of course.
We got a tough task against Norfolk, man. They're you know, amazing fishermen. They travel very well, and a little concerned, man.
Yeah, you know, it's got to be one of those things where you're like, is the weather going to affect them the same way down there too? I think you had, if I'm not mistaken, you had Rob on the show with you last night, right? Yeah, on the coast, of course. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it probably, I would have to say it has to. I mean, we could have James Coleman. I mean, isn't he a part of, or isn't he a biologist?
That
Who's a
will not help
biologist?
us.
Little things like
Greg, just
that.
so you
Hey,
know,
it still keeps the spirits up, though.
Live scope's not working.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I plugged it in and I'm like, oh yeah, let's get this started. Oh, it's not working.
That's
How
an
exciting.
expensive black screen, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey.
well, I mean, I still have my regular transducer, but
Yeah.
still, it sucks that I can't,
Yeah,
have the live scope and actually watch them come up and eat. So
I know, man.
Mike, I didn't
hopefully
even
I
know you
can
had a
figure
live
it out
scope.
at some point. What?
I didn't even know you had a live scope.
Oh yeah, I just got it. First day blues. I've already had my fair share of snafus this morning.
Are you trying to tell me an angler of your caliber needs to have a live scope to be able to go out there and kill monsters all day long? I don't think so. I've seen you in action, Mike. I've seen you in action,
I
bro.
know.
Hey, if it's
but
good
it's
enough
more
for Jacob
fun.
Wheeler, it's good enough for us, bud.
I got a couple secret weapons. Some stuff that not very many have, such as a chatterbait spinner blade.
Going with the double willow?
Got a double willow with it's a really weird combo. It's actually attached through the wire is a chatterbait blade. So it's
Really?
it's
Wow,
one
I
of
think I saw
interesting
something
things.
was it at the top of the carriage there? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, right here.
Extra little piece of metal?
It sits up. Yeah, the extra little piece is
No
your
kidding.
chatterbait blade.
How much wake are you trying to make? They're going to hear you from all the way down to Norfolk.
I know. Well,
You're sending
that's
that
what I
much
want.
rip through the water. Good Lord.
I want the fish to come up like that.
It is the Potomac. And so, you get the dirty Potomac and you get that water ring around the
Hey.
outside there. It definitely has a tendency to where you know that they're either going to be lateral line fishing or they're going to be sight fishing or both.
Yeah.
So what is the water telling you today?
I mean, they're up on top right now.
They're pushing up.
Really can't tell.
Are they pinning those bait fish against the surface already?
Yeah, it seems like they might be. I mean, they're definitely. I'm out here on Occoquan, so it's definitely got its fair share of other species of fish. But
Hey, did you see any of our friends at the boat launch?
no, I didn't actually. I was sort of surprised about that. I thought I thought I would, but yeah, no, there's no one here. So
That's kind of the way I like it because I don't want anyone pressuring me when I'm out there as well. It's
Oh,
one of those
yeah.
things where you get such a distraction from the gas-powered motors which are pushing around you, as opposed to being on a reservoir. You're gonna have to change up your tactics a little bit and try to find those coves and duck away from the rest of the traffic pushing in and out of that main pathway there in the water.
I have to
Yeah.
laugh. Dustin Good comes up to me, and I'm fishing. He goes, "Dude, you're not supposed to be fishing right now." I'm like, "Do you know who I am?"
do you know what I am doing right now?
I'm like, "I'm not in your tournament, dude." He goes, "What are you in?" I'm like, "KFL." He's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, sorry.
I'm like, "Sorry, man, not fishing."
Hey, hand him a membership form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, hand him a membership form and say, you should try it. You could start a little bit earlier, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. You get to,
Hey, always pitch. Always be ready. Always got to be ready.
Yeah.
You got to.
So with this whole thing that's happening, with the heat waves that we've had, I read recently that July has been the hottest month on record in recorded human history. So with that kind of effect on the bassin that we have, you know that one of the biggest things that you're going to have to worry about today is going into the shade, finding the shade, getting into those areas where the water's going to be possibly a little bit more calm, shelves, a lot of structure to cover. Is that kind of the plan that we're sticking with?
No, the problem
have
is,
to put it
man,
out
everything's so choked out, buddy. It's hard to even get to the shade line. It really is.
Yeah.
That's our issue. Everything is just so choked out. These fish, honestly, I'm perplexed, man. I've never seen the river so choked out like this. And the shade, like during the day, man, I just don't know. I mean, I couldn't figure out a pattern during the day. I mean, all my bites have come early, but I don't know, man. I just don't know where they're going to be. You can't even get to the docks. The docks are so choked out.
That bad?
No.
God, I haven't even been on there.
That must be down there because up here it's not as bad, but
yeah,
I know exactly where you're
but
at.
still.
Right? I know exactly where you're at. I can just look in the
exactly where
background and
I'm
see
at.
where you're at. Yeah.
You can tell by the boats where I'm at.
I used to live.
simple.
I lived there for many years. I lived right where
I
you're
forget.
at.
Yeah, you always lived right there.
Yep. So we'll keep
It'd be
that
nice
hush
if
hush on the down low.
Whatever.
That's a beautiful
It's the
part of
most-
Lake Michigan you're on,
most-
Mike.
Oh yeah, Lake Michigan, Lake St.
that's a little
Clair
bit
last
out of
week.
bounds.
Yeah.
That's our code word
Oh,
for the
man.
day.
Yeah.
Michigan on blue.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Mike,
man.
have you had any luck with the week leading in?
No. I had a little bit of luck. Nothing that really stopped my heart or anything, but it's just I mean, like Greg said, everybody has been absolutely struggling, and it's unfortunate because man, I really don't have anything to say other than that. I mean, it's just unfortunate. People come up here, they know this is a world class fishery. We're just down the way from the nation's capital, and uh, it makes it really difficult because people get here and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's fish, let's fish, let's fish," and you're like, "Yeah, cool," and then you get out here, you spend. I mean, Greg and I spent how many hours we spend at the other spot? Three,
At least 4 or
four?
5 hours.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours there. I spent a 11-hour day at one spot, and I caught a 13-inch bass. Just I mean, absolute. It breaks you down at a certain point because like I can't catch anything. What's wrong with me? But then you hear everybody else is having the same issue, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said that last week too, because you get in your own head. I get so tunnel vision when I'm out there. If I'm not catching something, I forget to even think about, well, wait a minute, maybe I should change up this, and this.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to stay focused like that, man. I mean, you're trying to, when you're not catching anything for quite some time and you're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink and just junk fishing the entire time. And when it's not producing, man, you think it's you, but it's really not. It's just the fish are just not like I was listening to a guy yesterday talking about how he literally threw a bait literally on top of a bass. He saw it straight up in shallow water, and the bass just, did nothing. Didn't even look at it. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's that being lethargic. So the hot and cold weather, that's what they do. They just get super, super lazy. Super
Well, yeah.
lethargic.
I mean, think about it. I mean, they're hot. They're miserable, and they're trying to find relief or whatever that may be, and they're just not in the mood to bite.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we have to deal with when it comes to being on the water in these kind of hot conditions is you always have to be able to adapt. But we know that you two gentlemen are champions in your own rights as well, are going to be able to nail these things today, along with the rest of the crew out there, hopefully give you guys some competition, keep the fires stoked up so we can have ourselves a good championship playoff as we head into the playoffs here. Greg, you want to talk anything about the playoffs?
Well, the playoffs are exciting, man. We did a playoff show last night, and a lot of these teams are rooting. There's a lot of rooting interest in a lot of other teams, to make things happen. And one loss shakes things up, man. It's just it's going to be intense. Alabama's rooting for us to get rid of Norfolk. They want to maintain their dominance and stuff like that. And obviously, a lot of people are Louisiana fans today, trying to make sure that Louisiana beats the Lone Star Bandits, which that's no tall tale task. I mean, I think, yeah, that I think the X factor there is going to be Clifton Allen. He's making his KFL debut. He lives, on Athens basically. He knows that like the back of his hand. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he performs today. But you got also another X factor down there. It's called Brian Howe. That guy is just a fishing machine, man. And it's gonna be fun to watch, man. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I absolutely do. Mike, the fact of the day is going to give it to you today. All right. And I love to throw out bass facts because I'm all about learning our prey, if you will. Strictly catch and release. So your average bass can swim 2.5 times its body length per second. That means a 13-inch bass cannot swim any lure that you throw at any speed you can cast in. Any speed you can reel in.
Yeah.
A little bit of knowledge for you. So you got Rebecca Jane on the side over here wishing good luck. Huh? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's wild.
That's wild. Man, Mike, I love you, bro. I miss you. I miss hanging out on the water. I do, man. I do. Mike is a fellow swim bait enthusiast like myself, and he's always has those top-notch swim baits. I'm not going to tell you which ones he catches the most on, though. I'll leave that for him. That's his
challenge.
I'm not going to give any of that up.
The challenge here for me this morning is just trying to stay in position, man. The current, the tides are ripping in and out, and you're trying to stay in position and fish a very, very small spot, And I tell you, the spot lock on this freaking Autopilot 120 is absolutely amazing, man. I mean, geez, it's just the technology of spot lock is just incredible.
I'll tell you about. So I have pinpoint on my motor guide, and I'll say when I'm standing up, I have on occasion when I get into those areas where there's no link up to the satellite, and all of a sudden it picks up on it and it realizes it could be 3, 4, 5 feet off. And all of a sudden turn, and it zooms over to the left or zooms to the right. If my big butt's standing up on the kayak, I'm going in the drink.
Yeah, you're going in the drink.
I am. I've had many times where I look like a fool because I had to drop down as quick as I could. Rod in hand, almost went over the side. Wintertime, of course, a little bit different because I never stand up in the winter for that exact reason. But yeah. I know I love my pinpoint. Trust me. The only problem,
one thing about it, man, is I mean, could you I saw something. What would you rather have or get rid of? Spot lock or speed? What would you prefer, spot lock or speed? I mean, to me, speed doesn't mean jack to me, man. Exactly. I mean, I want spot lock all day long. You know what I mean? You could have a motor that goes 10 miles an hour. I just don't care. You know what I mean? Like
you may beat me to the dang place that we're going to go to catch him, but I promise you I'm going to get there. I'm going to stay in one place when I get there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine.
In the wind. Oh, one of the things about the wind on being on a kayak, when you have all your gear, all those rods are sticking straight up, even though it's still a rod and it's got a very thin profile, it still catches the wind. It still pushes you around. All that weight now starts to move, especially with the tidal basin. All that weight is pushing around, and it's so frustrating if you can't stay in that one place. Goodness, I know the pain. I know the pain. That's exactly why I traversed from a Torpedo over to the Motor Guide XI3. I had to. Yeah,
I mean, nothing wrong with Torpedo, man. Great
product.
They're very innovative and all that stuff. But I tell you, man, Torpedo has its place, but nothing beats the technology of a Minn Kota spot lock or the Motor Guide stuff, man. I'm just super impressed with it, man. I'm an old school guy, man. I was an old Hobie pedal guy. It should be human based, fishing and motorization. But ever since I got this thing, get that idea, dude.
It's game over, right? It's a game changer. It really is.
Change your entire opinion.
It sure does.
Yeah, it's funny because being on a kayak and as opposed to being on a bass boat, people they look at it completely different. I say all it is just a bass boat that's been shrunk down because we still bring all the equipment. We bring just as many rod and reels, if not more.
Yeah.
I know I've got 8 on my rig when I'm all set up, and I look like I have dang antennas sticking all over my damn kayak.
Right.
2 hands full for me.
It is, isn't it?
2 hands.
You got judging duties, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I got you.
Would you get something?
I've missed 2 right here, man. I'm trying to get them, dude. They're so finicky right now.
Yeah.
I've missed 2. I'm about disgusted. One was
all about that. All about that head game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't complain, man. I mean, the bite's been a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, but still, it's.
I'm pretty sure every one of us came out here with no expectations at all.
And those who've pre-fished,
Yeah, because we all know how bad it's been.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, especially when it comes to that.
And there's supposed to be a little bit of breeze today, man, and I just don't see it,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to need access to, hang on, you know what? So, week 6. Greg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, week 6. I'm going to need access, and then we'll be
okay. All right. I'll take care of that.
I got to make sure that as we go back and forth, I was looking at what we have on the board and trying to stay up. By all means, but so as I'm trying to pull up to give you guys an update on week 6. So right now, Warhawks sitting atop the Privateers, 44.5 over 14 inches. So the Hurricanes, right now, they're trailing on the Bandits. Bandits on the board with 19.25. Florida Copperheads are 31 inches. And Greg, the one, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, sitting atop the leaderboard overall, kicking some bass. Now, Mike,
Hey, James, what's the email that you're looking at? Is it the drones?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. Yes, sir. Hey, Mike, one of our brothers in Rod and Reel, Big William Brewer, saying, "Let's go Warhawks." Also to Greg.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, he's part of the family, La Familia.
He is a original Warhawk, my friend.
Yeah, he's part of OG. Rebecca Jang wishing everyone good luck. And this morning, bright and early, Jason Campbell logged on and said, "Hey, good luck, fellas." So if I'm not mistaken, I think Rough Riders out of Texas, Southeast Texas, they got Lisa fishing this week, right?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Special shout out to her for helping me out last week. Because
you got one on,
definitely.
dude?
No, I just missed him. He popped it once or twice. I'm going to throw back in and see if I can get him. Sort of dragging along the bottom. Felt decent, too. Nice big pull of the handle.
Was that a swing and a miss for you, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, Jim. You should be on there,
He
bud.
just nipped it real quick. So, but that's good. That means they're here.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, my.
So forgive me while I'm taking a look at a couple things real quick. I'll still keep up some. Yeah, by the way, I didn't get the. Let's see here.
Oh, the identifier?
I didn't use my. Huh?
Talk about the identifier?
Yeah.
It's L2F.
Yeah, I was going to put it out for the rest. I was going to say that. So Lima 2 Foxtrot, L2F, Lima 2 Foxtrot. Lima 2 Foxtrot.
I think Greg made it that because it's lit the fish.
Actually, it's completely random, dude. I mean, it's machine generated.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yep.
Now, on the tidal basin, as I was going to here just a second ago, I was going to take a look and see what we got here. So yeah, it looks like come on. Do you hate it when you get those ads? Yeah, so tide coming in, pushed into a peak right around 11 and up until noon, and then it starts with downward trend moving out around 1300.
Yep.
So it looks like you're on a good side of it right now, which is good. You get that golden hour to an hour and a half if you when you get to peak tide when it starts to go out.
Yeah, the 2 hour tide differential. That's huge.
Oh, big time.
Let's see.
So I was going to give you an interesting fact about the tide. Something that I didn't know until I started doing a lot of research about the tidal basin. Obviously, because I was living on it for the longest time, and technically we still do. And that is, there is no in and out of the tides. The tides do not move in and then go back out or pull back out there. Tidally, what happens is that there is a bulge on opposing sides of the planet, and the planet spins inside that bulge. And as we're rotating into that bulge, which means we're rotating into the tide and out of the tide. Interesting fact. I love things like that. Bass science is one of my favorite subjects. I could learn about
I love
bass.
oceanics, man.
I do too. In fact, NOAA, they're the ones that reported that July was the hottest month in recorded human history, which is 150 years.
Don't tell the climate warming folks that, man.
No.
Oh.
No. I'm just saying what NOAA pushed out. That means warmer temperatures in the water for those bass are going to be icky. All right. I'm back. I can see you guys now. So, trying to play catch up with everything. We got some William Brewer. Hey, I wonder why he's giving us an anger face. Why fish is that guy smart as well? Oh man, come on now. I know he's talking about you, Mike.
Angry because he's not here.
I know he is. He is.
He wants to be here.
Yeah.
he's on the front lines helping with the storms and all the damage that's going out there, man. Like I tell you,
that's very true.
good on him, man. Good on him. And all our first responders. Special shout out to you, Mike, especially.
Thank you, bud.
You know, honestly, thank you for what you do.
Old Will, man, he's a competitor, man.
Yeah.
He's a warrior. He's a war hawk.
He is a war hawk.
So these
where's Bobby Brown? Why isn't he on here yet?
I don't know. I was wondering that myself.
I know he hates being called that, so I'm just gonna call him that all day. See if I could boil his blood a little bit.
Oh, he doesn't like it.
Bobby Brown.
Maybe we can get a theme song for him. You got one on?
Probably not. Nope, missed him. Son of a gun.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, Mike. Hook sets are free, right?
Hook sets are free, but when you break a
hook
bait,
sets are free unless
you're in a kayak, so you're limited on how many baits you can take with you. Then it makes things difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
I do have like 700 pounds worth of things. The guys at the launch this morning were like, "What in the world are you doing?" I was like, "I'm in a competition."
Surrender is not my creed.
Don't you see my jersey? Yours. They're like, "Yeah."
Come on now.
I'm like, "Eh."
Wayne Brewer is saying, "Hey, he's on Navy time." I know he is, right? Where's the skipper today? I don't even. I don't know Rob that well, so
he's trying to get his parachute pants on, one leg at a time.
Hey, who's the one who caught the fish for Norfolk?
Yeah, let me switch back. Go over real quick and take a look. Oh, we also got some more up here too.
You know, people like you were saying earlier, Jim.
One second.
You and I were talking last night, and you're like, "Oh, I got a broadcast." I'm like, "What's he got a broadcast this morning?" You know, we talk quite often, so I was
he's been fantastic, dude.
I was like, "Man, well, I've been working every Saturday, so I haven't really been KFLing at all, or fishing all the time." And I was like, "Wait, what? You're doing KFL?" And so him and I were like so excited. We're like fangirl excited that we get to talk to each other.
I know, right? You guys are too kind.
No way! I can't wait to see you in the morning.
I was like, bro, I got you. I got you on this.
I know.
James Quinn pulling out a 14-incher.
Yeah.
James Quinn pulling out a 14.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
How many? Wait, so you said 44 to 14. Is that? Do they only have one fish? How many fish do we have?
Well, you're talking to the leader right now. Well, not me, him. You're,
Greg,
a fellow warhawk.
I didn't know. I didn't know Greg had fish.
Yeah, I put 3 on the board, man.
You didn't know?
Awesome, dude. I did not. I've been slacking, to say the least. You guys are so far.
Yeah, you've been focusing on fishing, and that.
Oh no.
Rubbing is racing, as they say, right? Focus is fishing.
Yeah, you know it. That made it not better.
Focus is fishing. Yeah, so it looks like nothing too big so far this morning, but that's not to say that they're not going to come out and play later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's good.
True story.
So any topwater action this morning?
We got some guys power fishing topwater, man. Nothing I've seen so far. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, because, I mean, these bass will hit a topwater any time of day, but it was not productive, right at first light. So we'll see, man. There's a lot of bait, man. Ton of bait. Yeah. So I don't know, man.
You said the water's not that deep at all, right?
I'm fishing. Well, I don't want to say what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
I know. I'm not asking for secrets. I don't need trade secrets. I don't want.
Are there members of the privateers out with you, Greg?
They are not here, no. But there's
Yeah,
spies.
you don't want to give them.
There's spies among us, man.
Oh, you know it.
You know what I mean?
So I'm trying to get the here we go. So Greg, you're sitting at the top of the leaderboard at 44.5, followed up by John Fuchs at 31 inches. Brian Howell pulled up the number 3 spot at 19.25, followed by James Quinn with 14 inches, Stephen Bell with 14, and that's what we have on the leaderboard for week 6.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Florida guys are fishing tenor rock, so that's going to be interesting. And hey, by the way, get John. If you message John Fox, he'll come on.
Let's see here.
Nope, that's a snag.
I got a little excited. I heard that reel screaming.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, it's always exciting, and then you're like, nothing. I mean, especially when you're playing in docks. I mean, that definitely it doesn't play to the suit of certain baits. Come on, where you at? Let's go. Oh, am I gonna have to break off? No, I don't
Does he
want
pronounce
to.
it Fox or Fuchs?
Fuchs.
Right, but does he pronounce it Fox or
It's
Fuchs?
Fox, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to mispronounce his name, so I want to make sure I get it.
Oh, trust me. We've went around on that name pronunciation.
Yeah, I spend so much time in Germany. When I see any kind of lettering, any kind of words that I know, if they have a German origin, I will definitely pronounce it in that German way. So if Mike's name was spelled Meike, it would still be pronounced Mike because it's the I is after the E. But if it was IE, it'd be Meek. Oh, you know what? That's got to stick, Meek. I christened the new Meek.
Oh, great. I'm Meek.
All right, so I just messaged him. Let's see if he can jump on here in just a second. So other than that, with the sunlight coming out today, I know you got good clear skies. This weekend, I think we still got a little bit of clouds moving in later on. I know that whenever the game plan for each angler, it's all varying on what's going on with the tide, what's going on with the weather, the winds. Because I wasn't out on the water today, I got to say I didn't check anything, and I should have. Have done my due diligence. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Let's see. Let's pull up the wind so I can see what we're sitting at right now. Especially with the tidal band. You guys know inward bound tide.
That sucks.
That can't be right. How is that right? It's saying it's going to be cloudy with a little bit of rain later on.
Yeah, they're saying rain in the afternoon, I saw.
Yeah, it says it's kicking up some rain just after lunch.
I'll tell you what, those storms are something else.
Oh, those storms last night.
My you have all that hot weather.
Like 5 or 6 times.
I mean, seriously, there was enough electricity in that storm to basically power this planet for a couple years.
To light up Chicago, right? Go Bears, go Bears.
Go Bears.
So, I was going to say, all that hot air way up there mixing up with the cooler air, man almighty, it just made for a great thunderstorm.
Something else.
Let's see here. I'm talking to John Fox right now. So only just a few hits so far. Nothing big, right, Mike?
Yeah.
There we go. We got John. Bring him on in and add him to the stream here. Good morning, John.
Hair.
Morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm well. I appreciate you joining us.
It's no worries.
We were just talking about your name and the pronunciation.
It's pronounced fox, like a little animal.
No, I got you. I was going to say John, the bass layer fox, huh?
I'm good with that too.
Hey, I saw the leaderboard. I know what's going on. Trying to get the guys a run for the money on the other teams, huh?
I'm trying to. I'm at this little bitty lake, and I'm the only one here.
That's the way you should. That's the way I like it. I like it when no one's around, pushing me, pressuring me, scaring off my big bass.
Oh, I've been throwing a chatterbait and a whopper plopper around the edges.
Nothing yet. Nothing to wake them up enough to where they want to bite up.
I lost one. I got this new GoPro thing going on.
Yeah, I noticed that. I saw that. Hey, real quick, safety check. Mike, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You didn't fall over, did you?
I tried to say hello. I'm fixing something.
Mike, you can't do that to me, man. You scared us. Are they dogfish?
No.
Okay, just making sure. John, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to do it. Make sure he was good because I didn't.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
So we got Wood Brewer on the side of it here. Need to ruin the Privateers' playoff hopes. And then he's also giving a shout out to you, John.
Oh, thank you.
Big thumbs up. I know we can hear
Well,
you.
I've located my problem. Ugh.
You are the KBBT
I got no power.
champion. Huh? That's what Will said.
Power.
Will said the KBBT champ.
Yeah.
Tell Brewer to come down here and give me some fuses, please.
Hey, I think he's probably going to be on mission. He's got to stay on target where he's at right now.
Oh yeah.
So now that we got everyone on the screen here, this morning we know it's been a tough fight moving on. Does that mean it's going to play a little bit of it's going to limit your options on what you could do today because of the weather, because of the everything that's pushing into this afternoon as well. If that weather moves in a little bit sooner, it could cool those temperatures down and hopefully kind of turn the bite back on, because that seems to be kind of the common thing when it comes to bass fishing. If you got super hot weather and that rain comes in and cools those temperatures down, it can turn the bite back on pretty quickly. Is that something you're taking into consideration right now, wishing for the rain? Or
well, I mean, honestly, I mean, tide affects everything on the Potomac River, man.
I agree, 100%.
Tide dominates, right? It dominates here. So I don't know if the weather is going to play a factor as much as the tide cycle. It's going to be a high tide, so a lot of these fish should push up into these areas that they normally are. But right now, man, as I said, everything's so choked out down here, man. It's something's got to change. This current's got to get moving here.
No, I agree very much, Greg. And I got to say, the tide is going to be coming in and peaking right when that rain's supposed to hit. So if anything, you've got a double whammy to hopefully in everyone's favor where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I mean, it's gonna be something. I don't know. I mean, we got to figure it out.
What's the biggest fish you've caught on the Potomac?
I'm sorry?
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught on the Potomac? I know the answer, but refresh my memory.
8 pounds, 23 inches.
Every time I think about that, if I had an 8-pound bass I pulled on the Potomac, I would be walking around with that thing in hand. I would have a mold made of it. I would have put it back before it's catch and release. I would have had a mold made, walking around like this the entire time.
It was 8 pounds, 2 ounces. It was basically feeding below stripers. It was in October, and it was on a bridge pylon, and they were just smacking shad against the pylon. And I believe it or not, I threw an electric chicken sea trout bait and just jigged it on the bottom, and she ate it, and it was just over from there, man. It was pretty sweet.
So I'm over here like, hang on one second, let me take a note.
That was fun.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. So were you catching on a light line, or were you going braid at that time? I'm assuming you were on fluoro.
Yeah,
you're on braid.
You were on braid. Yeah, because I was striper fishing. I was just trolling striper fishing, and just kind of came across it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, one of my favorite things whenever I'm out there, and if I'm throwing a braid to a fluoro leader, I always go a super heavy setup, and I get so much slack from it. Especially, not to put my personal business out there as far as what I'm throwing and stuff, but if I'm hitting 65 to 40, I'm in my comfort zone.
We're in business, boys.
I hear a beep in the background.
Come on, buddy.
Which means Mike is back on the
business.
water. Mike, I'm going to need you to go ahead and recheck everything again.
Oh yeah, give it one more go around. Yeah, that'll be so much fun.
Do another gut check.
The nicest message when you get a message saying your GLS 10 box is in forward view. You're like, yes. Just so needed to rip some fuses out real quick and put them.
So Will left you a message saying I can bring in Old Town Canoe and some kayaks.
Well, I mean,
wink.
That might be an upgrade. Hey, how are you? That might be an upgrade in the near future, but not as of right now.
So, John, what are your 3 favorite baits to throw when you're on the Tidal Basin? Not saying what you're throwing right now. We don't need any. Oh, do we have something? I saw a hook set.
He dropped it. It depends on where I'm at.
So just give me a roundabout. If you had 3 varying, and they said you could only take 3 for one tournament, regardless of what time of year. Well, you know what? Let's stick with the summertime. I'll make it easy. We'll condense it down a little bit. If you had 3 favorite baits, what would you throw? If you don't mind sharing that kind of info.
A frog would be probably one. a fluke, and maybe my punch rig.
I got to say, a fluke is definitely one of my top. It's one of my favorites. But, when it comes to any kind of fluke, I don't just go and say, you know what, I'm going to get this one, I'm going to get that one. I'm not going to go and do anything when it comes to Zoom specifically, because they make a good fluke. But I have one in particular that I really like and I love. It's got a little bit of an action on it. I'll tell you, I just hammer them all day long on those things, especially when it comes to post spawn. I'd probably take it year round because I know I can land them. Not necessarily always going to be a monster, but Mike's been there when I've had those hookups on those big ones. And if I'm using finesse line and I don't have that drag loosen up enough, they'll snap the line every time, but they're hammering those things. So I'm definitely there with you. So Mike, what's your PB? What's your personal best?
6 pounds. I was caught in a tournament at Lake Mooney about the end of July last year.
Oh, no kidding.
I've had a couple come close. Actually, that's like my true like PB. I had a friend lives in Florida, and we were at a pond by her house, and I caught a big one. But my stringer, or the grips that I had, the string on the end of them untied, and the fish. So I was like holding it, and the fish came off, and he swam into like a wall, and he hit it, and luckily they popped off, but he swam away. I was so upset. I mean, it had to have been every bit of probably 7 or 8 pounds, but it's a pond fish. I generally feel like your big lakes and your rivers are where you truly get your PB, because there's everybody can catch these fish out here. Some private ponds, it's like those are secluded. People can feed them, all that kind of stuff. So.
And I think there's actually one down in Florida where they have double digits that have been stocked in there completely. And it's notorious for producing monsters that people try to flock to every year, and they try to get access to it every year. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to catch it next time you go down there or find that pond again, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Have you been on many ponds lately? Or you been sticking to the reservoirs
really.
and the tidal basin?
Just sticking to the reservoir, and it's just one of those easy things to do.
Well, I mean, it's convenience because of where we're located.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the Northern Virginia region has quite the plethora of places to fish, and that's really nice about things. Is a couple of these fisheries have been pretty beat up lately. People either tournaments or just recreational fishers, and they're getting a lot more pressure over the last year, especially with COVID. So being able to go somewhere else where maybe people don't usually go, or they claim is a fished out lake, and it's had a couple years to reset itself, really plays to a lot of our advantages. So, and the other thing too is a lot of these lakes around here, they're either 9.9 or they're electric only, and that deters a lot of people from at least the big bass boats. It deters a lot of them because they don't want to pull their boat out and go run their battery down and all that, because they have to make sure the motor's all the way out of the water. And so that plays to us kayak fishermen and women's strengths. So
I know, I couldn't agree more. And I never realized the amalgamation that Virginia really was when it came to fishing. The waters, the structure, the cover, the variety, the diversity, everything, especially when it comes to the tidal basin, your reservoirs, and of course, how close we are to the coastline. It makes for ideal conditions, especially whenever, you have people who are coming from all over the nation. Even if you were to go to the MLF and you were to look at how they come here for their tournaments, but they were on the Potomac this year. They were on there just recently. And, people were taking photographs of them while they had the cameraman standing in the back, standing on the boat, watching them. It was definitely pretty cool to watch that kind of thing, because it gives you a new view, a new outlook on what's really here, the potential, especially. So
yeah,
if you can get into those key areas, you can land some big bass. And I got to say, it's definitely refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
So I was give you a quick overview of what we got on the leaderboard right now. So Warhawks still sit over top the privateers, 44.5 over the 14. Bandits sitting at 19.25 still. Florida Copperheads pushing up to 62.25 over the Carolina Castors at 14 inches. And Greg, you're still sitting in the number one spot, my friend.
Oh, that's not going to last long with those boys down in Texas and Florida.
Yeah, they definitely, if they get on them right now, especially down in Texas, it seems like maybe they could start to push those numbers up a little bit higher and start to take up, but we'll see what happens. So still haven't seen anything from Rob, Yak Basson. Hopefully we
Say
can.
that again? Not the NVKBA. No, it's KFL.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Some
Start
bass
putting
boat?
some flags up. Hey, we are not MBKBA. We are KFL.
KFL. KFL. Just like that.
Yeah.
John, did I miss you hooking up when I was checking the scoreboard?
You what?
Did I miss you hooking up when I was checking the scoreboard?
Yeah, it was just a little one.
Was it? Okay, I apologize. I didn't see it, but I was checking the scores to see where we're at here. You know, Will, even though he's not on the water, obviously. Let me see if we can try to get him in here. Hang on one second.
Oh, that would be fun.
I want him to. Hey, that's my dard right there, man.
Yeah, get him on, man.
I'm trying.
Oh, it's been terrible, man. It's been terrible. I mean, all week.
So
Don't come anywhere near me because it's horrible. It's so bad.
yeah, don't bring your
never
stickiness
know.
on me. Leave me alone, right?
Yeah, leave me alone.
So Greg, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If you had a stranger walk up to you, you know the old adage where they're saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to
Yes.
fish, or a woman to fish, and they'll eat for the rest of their life. If you had a complete stranger come up to you right now and they had a fishing rod and reel in their hand, nothing else, no tackle, no gear, no equipment, because everything was lost, and they asked you for one lure, what lure would you give them?
Oh, Cinco all day long.
Oh, I love that answer. Love that answer.
Yeah, Cinco.
Love that answer.
I mean, no matter where in the country you're at, that's the bass magnet, man.
So Cinco's, the interesting fact about them is that if you were to take if you look at the sales for Cinco's, ever since Gary Yamamoto put it out on the market many, many years ago and took over, I can't remember what the one lure was, but right now that is the number one selling plastic. If you were to take all other plastics and combine their sales together, it outsells all of them together. If that makes sense, the way I'm putting it.
It
it's
does,
crazy.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't catch a bass on a Cinco, consistently. I mean, so easy.
Well, it's also it's the range of what you can use a Cinco. You can throw a weightless, you can throw a wacky rig. Oh, hang on, we got Will right in the back. Let's see what he says here. So he's like, I can't rap meow.
Right, meow.
He's too busy saving
Well,
the world.
I had the meow. All right, meow. All right, meow.
Meow.
I think he's working pretty hard here.
Do you have any blow ups
Get
on
off
top, man? Not one, huh? Yeah. See, we started at 6. I don't know why Mike did it 7, man. You know?
Oh, you're talking to somebody from MVKBA then.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, I think Mike pushed the time back
yeah.
on MBKB, if I'm not mistaken.
I know it sucks, doesn't it? Yeah.
That's all right, though. Hey, you know what? Same team, because we're all in the water. We're all doing our part for conservation, for keeping our black bass species out there. Hey, so John, what about you? If you had a stranger walk up, what lure would you offer them if they had nothing else? And you can't say Cinco. Sort of in use. That one's off the board. This is like family.
I gotta agree with Greg on that one. A Cinco.
Yeah.
And Mike?
I don't know,
Mike,
maybe a
what about
inline spinner.
I mean, if somebody don't know what they're doing,
The old inline spinner. You know, it gives the it's a easy to use. Even little kids know how you can figure it out. So
Right. John, you were saying?
it's just one of them bait that if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to use another bait, that bait will catch you fish all over the United States.
Oh my God, absolutely right.
what the
Doesn't matter where
fudge?
you're at. Doesn't matter what you're doing, what time of day, what season. They will always, I mean, the worm is the go-to for everything. Doesn't matter if you're going T-rig, wacky rig, weightless, nose. Doesn't matter. All right. Oh, I think we got one on over here. It looks like John's pulling back pretty good on that one. Let's go. Oh, John. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Congrats.
There you go.
All right. That was good. Nice catch, John.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
I shall return.
Highlight of the day brought to you by John Fox. Kicking up for KFL. Nice. So I'll be watching for him to post that up so that way we can keep the scoreboard updated.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, it looks like. So John is sitting in second place right now. Greg, hey. He is. Let's see here. Yep. Yeah, to 17 and 14, and we'll see what he adds to the board right now. Okay.
I look to be about
No one else
16.
wanting to log on right now. I think everyone's trying to focus on catch fish. Can't say I blame him. Or like, hey, who's the new broadcaster? We don't know him. Hearts and minds, right? Hearts and minds.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to believe, especially with the tidal basin. I know there's so many different places you can fish as far as what's being inbounds, out of bounds, access, public access ramps are going to be the biggest ones. So you've got Aquia Creek, Chapawamzik, pushing up outside of Quantico there, outside the power plant. Occoquan, which is a pretty special place to me too. That's actually where my VFW is at down in that area. But I love Occoquan, especially Old Town Occoquan. When you get down in there, it's a very beautiful layout. My problem is that you get a little congested. You just have to push up further up into the rocks when you get that point just below the dam.
Oh, you get very congested.
Yeah, a lot of people that get down there, it's so pressured. So that's why I like to push back up the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
a little temperamental though. All right, John, you're back.
Yep.
All right, Bubba. Let's see what we got here.
That was a kayak fish all day.
Oh,
I think it was 18 inches long and skinny.
That is a beautiful fish. Way to go.
Now we got a little current coming in, man. This tide is really starting to rip.
Is it pushing all over the place?
Yeah, it's starting to really come in. The coefficient's only 60, but it seems like it's a lot stronger than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked at how skinny they are. You would think there'd be a little bit more, knowing the forage that's in there.
Well, I think that too. I mean, what's helping this current come faster is the fact that all sides are choked out, and so like the waters just can't get underneath this grass or over top of the grass, you know.
Right.
So it's become kind of like a true river. Speaking of rivers, man, I'm looking forward to that Motor City matchup.
As I'm taking a
West
look over
Virginia
here.
today.
Yeah, let me go back over here to see, take a look at the board for that. So because of Motor City, I think was it last week they had 176 3/4 that they put up on the board. And I hate to say, over the Warhawks coming in pretty close, though, trailing on the heels with 163. So that definitely is one of the things you're going to look forward to, these big hitters and what they're doing today. Trying to back out here so I can go back to our leaderboards and see what we have, if we have any updates on them. Yeah, forgive me. So, yeah, Florida Copperhead sitting at 100.5 over the Carolina Casters. Motor City Ambassadors and anglers, Appalachian anglers, nothing on the board so far.
Yeah, they don't start till 12.
That'll start till 12 in the okay. And
Yep.
I'm assuming because of the that's going to be the same when it comes to Arkansas Hogs and the Rough Riders, right?
Yeah, do you know how to share your screen? Just hit share.
I do. In fact, I was just about to do that.
Yeah.
By. I've got 1 second. See if we. This is the wrong one. So hang on. That's one. I have two. I've got two windows open for myself, so I can go back and forth without having to try to re-log into a different thing to make it easier, if that makes sense. So I just have to pick one or the other. I had a 50-50 chance. What is going on here? All right. And that's still last week. Why is it? You know what? We're just going to close it out and make it easy. I apologize, guys. Hey, once I get a hold of this and I get it mastered, you won't have to worry about the delay in pulling up the screen to show you.
Yeah, just go to week 6 on the dashboard.
Yeah, no, I'm on week 6. I'm saying I had 2 tabs open one for week 5, one for week 6. But yeah, so this is where we're sitting right now. Yeah, it made it easier for it, but it doesn't differentiate whenever you're trying to pull up that tab. Yeah, and of course, yeah, give it another refresh just to make sure there's something I haven't missed yet. Yeah. So, like I said before, Warhawk sitting at the top of privateers right now, 44.5 over 14. Now, with the Copperheads, the Florida Copper, which I love the name, by the way. 100 inches so far. John pushing up into the leaderboard, 49 over 44.5. So, Gray, you're sitting number 2. Danny Gann sitting at number 3. Holding the number 4 spot, Brian Howell. And, of course, the number 5 spot, Jason Denise. Followed by crowd pleasing James Quinn with 14 inches and Stephen Bell with another 14. Tied up there. So what do you think is going to be the call for the Motor City Ambassadors over the Knights?
Over the Appalachian Anglers?
The Anglers, excuse me. I said Knights.
You think what was the question about?
What do you think is going to happen as far as the call out? What are you predicting for that one?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you, man. I think West Virginia has a great shot at winning. That's going to shake up the North, man. That's going to be really interesting to see what they do. That's going to be, I'm telling you, a major game for the North. A lot like the Rhode Island Rebels are absolutely rooting for that to happen, because then they can take control of the North, man. So, yeah, I mean, if I was the Rebels, I'd be gathered around the TV trying to watch that game. You know what I mean?
So you think the advantages are going to play out basically the location and what the size of the bass is going to be able to reach, and the weather is obviously playing into that. But let's face it, you can't have a team from Iowa, and that's only because I can speak intelligently about this being from there. They're not going to have a bass that are going to be nearly as big as, say, the Florida stream. So location, which is not to say that they don't have that capability, but they're going to be few and far between as opposed to where they're at bearing on the opposing team. Joe Dickerson saying, never fished a Cinco, but I throw a Ocho. Help educate me here. What is an Ocho? Joe, we'd love to hear about it. Log on. We'll bring you up on the screen. You can tell us all about it. Dennis Robinson, there are no fish in the Potomac River. I know someone who caught an 8-pounder that would probably contest that. I myself have caught that, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, they can be few and far between as well. Extremely tough.
He's literally 200 yards from me, and he says there's no fish.
He said that? Yeah, I'm not on the water, so I don't get to see who's all around it. So once I get a handle on locations, it's going to be better for me. At least I can keep a better.
This is my guy, man. We've been fishing together for 20 years, over 20 years. I'm still trying to teach him how to fish.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
I love that I love it. Bring out the adversity. Bring it on, right? It's still, it's a team event, obviously, that we all know. Street cred and bragging rights.
He just needs a snakehead fish, man.
You know, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing. You know, you hit the nail on the head. You start getting into the Potomac like that. You definitely start to dive into that pool where there are other species that are hitting the same lures that you're going to be able to, that you're throwing for those bass. That's actually one of the perks, I think, of being on the Potomac. Personally, I think we've talked about this before. When it comes to snakehead, you get some big snakehead. Now, even though the numbers are in decline, you see a lot more bass out there that are getting a lot bigger because of they're not having to have the same competition as what the bluegill are eating up or what some of the other fish are eating up. It's kind of it's one of those weird turnarounds. I like it. I love it. Bring them on. Bring them on. Unfortunately, though, you see a decline in that population. So we'll see how that plays out in the coming years.
Hey, go over to the island, see if there's anything over there, man. Okay.
Hey,
I'm on camera. No.
Don't say it too loud.
No. You need to be about 100 yards from that spot. Get away. Yeah. Well, you better do something.
Oh.
I didn't hear the comment he made. What'd you say?
I missed two. Yeah, they've got one. No, no one's posted. Yeah, you need to go chase snakeheads, man. That way you catch some bass.
Yeah. Derek Miller putting up a good sized fish out there as well. And
who's that?
Derek Miller. Oh
God, he is the OG.
Yeah, he's definitely putting up some good sized numbers. I'm just checking it out right now on the while I do a little judging on the side to keep everyone consistent and current. So they don't have to play catch up. So forgive me if I don't see something on the screen. If someone does set into one, let me know, please, and I'll put you back up real quick. Yeah. You know, one of the things I've found useful is when you do get out there and you start to see, especially on the Potomac, right? And you start to see those locations where the water's starting to come back in those locations that you couldn't fish before. And now you see the water starting to change all the different cover that you have around there, starting to top the grass out, start to move back in. It kind of lifts the spirits back up for you. In the meantime, what's the game plan, Greg?
Man,
what is the game plan besides catching fish?
Well, I mean, my game plan is to do the same thing I've been doing. I'm not going to change anything today. I mean, I'm not going to be like, there's no sense of moving. I know there's fish here. They're going to reload. I'm just going to chill, man. I hate this kind of fishing. I like to stick and move, man. I really do. But there's only isolated spots that these fish are in. And, I mean, they're going to reload with the tide, in and out. You got to be patient, man. I am not that kind of guy. But, you know, it's worked so far this morning. I know there's fish here. They will be here. They'll be coming in, but I don't know, man.
Come on down this wall. Come on.
Yeah, it definitely gets to be pretty tough because you can't power fish like you're saying. Me, myself, and I love to do KVD style, and that's, hey, open fast and keep moving. But like you said, you can't keep doing that, especially when it comes to the Tidal Basin.
You can't. Nope. And, you know, I'm going to rely on my teammates, man. You know, I have full faith and trust in these guys. They know what they're doing. You know, if these guys can put, you know, one or two more on the board for each, man, we're going to be sitting pretty good. But I just got to be patient, man. I hate
and being a team event, being a team sport, relying on your partners. You hate it and you hate to love it, or love to hate it?
No, I love it, man. I do. I love it.
I thought you said you hated it. I was like,
no, I hate being just sitting here and just being patient. That's what I hate.
Stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, I love fishing this event, you know, with my teammates and stuff like that, man. I'll be honest with you, I prefer it over individual tournaments, man. I have fallen in love with this format. There's a lot of strategy involved. I mean, even though we're not in the playoffs, I'm excited to see who does what. Pretty excited about it, man. There's teams that you fall in love with. There's teams that you're just like, man, these guys came out of nowhere. Like Michigan, man. Michigan, I thought they were a good team, but I didn't think they were this good, And Rhode Island, I mean, that's another one. I'm just like, wow. I knew that Lone Star Bandits were going to be a handful. I mean, that's a powerhouse team. Alabama came out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned, but they have proven their worth for sure. And I think it's cool, man. See how these teams just communicate. What makes them great. Each individual person has their own way of doing things, and they just mold together, man.
It's funny because when they do get that algorithm going, or whenever they get that rhythm going, it definitely sets a tone for the rest of the team,
Sure.
And that also for future events. So if you were going to take and make a call out on Rough Riders versus the Hogs, what would you say is going to help them? Or what do you think is going to take the leaderboard today for them?
I'm going with the Hogs, man. I like Arkansas, man. I love what they did with their team. I know there's going to be few surprises for next year that they've already talked to some anglers, and you're going to be very surprised on who comes on the Arkansas Hogs next year. I am shocked who they're talking
Really?
to. And
any insight you want to share?
Not right now. We will.
Hey, you got to play it close to the chest. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, I was told there's a couple powerhouse anglers that's going to be joining that team, which that's going to be huge.
I will have some Arkansas fans in the crowd, I wonder, huh?
Yeah, I will tell you. We've already negotiated and came to agreements with at least 2 other teams so far. That's going to be joining the KFL next year, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, outstanding! Outstanding.
Yep. And then we're working on many others.
That's good. Expanding the horizon there when it comes to at least reaching out for the love of the sport and conservation. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to get this great sport out, man. Jim, I think me and you have talked. I will break this news. We have bought a sports network, and KFL, it will be on that sports network. And Jim, congratulations, you have your own show on this network.
Oh my God, thank you. I love you for that. I can't wait. I am so excited for that. So excited. I'm the kind of guy, when I'm broadcasting, I talk extremely fast. Anyone who's ever been in my classes, or if they've ever listened to me, when I get going, I'm wide open or nothing. But once I've got everything down, I'm telling you, I love to put on a good show for everyone. I want to make sure that I make everyone happy and keep everyone informed and keep everyone entertained. I can't thank you enough.
This network will be on obviously Roku and Amazon Fire as well, and we're pretty excited about that, man.
Absolutely, very excited. Very.
Yeah, we're very thrilled with that. So we got a lot of work to do between now and then. Kind of get this network going, schedule the content, but it's to be pure sports, man, and I just think it's going to be good, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. We get to control the content. We get to control the gates, so to speak, and win the broadcast. So
oh my God, cool. And that's going to be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
you get so fed up with certain things that kind of pollute, if you will. Not to be too harsh, but they do. Let's call it like it is. It's nice to have somebody that's re-energizing, so you just get the facts and go straight to what the content is. Focus on the content. So with Appalachian Anglers, excuse me, with the Appalachian Anglers and the Motor City Ambassadors, talk a little bit more about that, because I'm also learning as well when it comes to these teams, being new to KFL.
Well, these guys, Appalachian Anglers are 2-2. They're vying for their playoff lives here, and so they have to win the next 2. They actually come to Washington next weekend. So they're home, and then they come to the Shenandoah River next weekend against us. So they have to win the next 2, man. And, it starts today. I mean, that's That's the key for them. They have to win at home. They have to, they're facing a really good team, inexperienced team on the river, with Michigan. But these boys, I talked to them last night, Michigan guys, they feel like they're pretty confident in what they're doing. But I will tell you from firsthand experience, no one knows those rivers, especially the new river, like these boys. They grew up on that river, man, and it's gonna be a very tough task to beat these guys. So, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game to watch. I do think West Virginia will pull up. Not so much an upset. I don't think it's gonna be an upset, but record-wise, you can see it will be an upset. But in this league, man, it is so hard to win on the road. It really is. So.
I got to say, it's kind of like when you watch, Tom Brady's New England back in the day when they were on the road, they were kicking butt. It was always something you tuned in for because you had a good turnout, you had a good show coming, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. Not to bring sports into it, but
Oh yeah, well, this is a sport.
Give a shot. Hey, that's what I'm saying. I give a shout out to my favorites. Just like you were saying before, you develop those teams that you really take a liking to, and I'm not trying to compare, any of the other groups to Tom Brady because let's just call it like it is. He never should have left New England and stuck where he was at, but that's okay. But with that being said, if he was fishing and if he was England, which team do you think he would take on the board today? Which one would he stick with? The GOAT.
If the GOAT was fishing, I think the GOAT would be fishing with Lone Star. That team is loaded.
Really? I think he would be with the Warhawks. I really do. And it's not because I'm biased. I'm not. I'm being neutral. I'm
so?
Switzerland right now. I do. I really do. I really do.
Well, it's awfully nice of you to say, man. But, it would be interesting. I mean, I just think that, there's such great talent on these teams all over the place, especially with Lone Star, man. Yeah, I don't think. Let me say this. I don't think Lone Star needs the OG. You know what I mean? But it would sure up a lot of things with them, man.
What do you think? What do you think that since Lone Star is the topic right now? What do you think their strengths are going to be when it comes to this tournament? Where are they going to shine the most?
Oh, they shine everywhere. I mean, they've got guys that have figured out both how to fish deep and how to fish shallow, and I mean, they put together a squad that is so talented across the board, man. There's always that one person that just seems to dominate a tournament. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, they're just incredibly stacked. And, I just look at like a guy like Jeff Isham. I mean, the guy just lives, breathes, and dies kayak fishing. And, I don't know, man. I think and Brian Howell. I mean, Brian Howell's in the top 3 or 4 on the Hobie tournaments right now. That's a feat in itself. I think Brian Howell's probably one of the best fishermen right now going. Just his momentum. Derek Miller. I mean, again, like I called him, he's the OG. He finished second in the Save JT tournament that was put on. I mean, the guy's just incredible.
So does that mean if you would take a team, it doesn't matter what we're talking about, which team specifically within KFL, but if you had a team that you could stack, would you take a team that each angler had their own individual strength that you could spread it out? Or would you stick with everyone who's just going to be great on that one thing, whether they're punching, whether they're doing finesse, whether they're doing topwater? That way you could equal it out. Because if you had it that way, let's take and let's spread the talent out amongst the team. You can now meet any obstacles that come in your way by leaning on the team. And that really makes it a team effort, as opposed to saying everyone can throw a jig and everyone can punch really, really well, but not really so much when it comes to finesse fishing, or not really so much when it comes to topwater. If that makes sense.
You need that diversity, man. I mean, you need to know what's working, right? You need to know, your teammates need to know how you're doing it. You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your teammates are going to do that because it takes away from their strengths. But, people just need to know, it's like fishing a water column, right? You fish a water column, start from the top, go down, and then, you work way down to the bottom. So that's how fishermen are, and that's how this team works. You got guys that are good on top. You got guys that can fish a chatterbait or whatever in the mid water column, and then you got guys that are really good finesse and jig fishermen.
Right.
And that's what Lone Star represents, man. They're just solid across the board, man. They fish that water column really, really well. They always seem to find them.
Yeah, it seems like that's actually one of the hardest things to do, especially when it comes to trying to find that strike zone. So, are you going to fish below on the bottom, and you're going to sit there and try to get that, the crankbait like it's feeding off the bottom there, kind of KVD style? Are you going to bring it just above their heads? If you have grass that's sitting on the bottom, are you going to be able to hit that crankbait just above the grass line once the tide comes in, and have them bass come and just kind of slam it from below? Because of course they are ambush predators.
Right.
Getting those types of talents on the team, I think, are what's going to make it most important for anyone to take the cup or to take the championships or to make it to playoffs to begin with, because you now know you have that diversity. You can rely on your brothers and sisters, anglers out there to help fulfill that part that you may be lacking. Because I don't know. I have my weaknesses. Am I getting feedback, or is anyone else getting that feedback?
I think somebody else is.
It's that staticky, right? I think.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of static, man.
Okay, do you hear it now? Because I don't hear it anymore.
No, it's all gone now.
Yeah, it sounded like someone was talking in the background, or maybe it was a lag. So, Dennis Robinson coming up saying, "Hey, Greg, come mow some grass for me." Start swinging the rod there. I'll cut it all down. So yeah, like we said before, out on the tidal basin, water's going to start coming up slowly. It is coming in slowly but surely. So right around, I think 11:30 is when you should.
Hey, Mike Hogan. Hogan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Message.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, I saw. I'm trying
cool.
Trying to go somewhere. I'm probably about to get stopped by a police boat. Because they'll be interested in my kayak. They'll be like, "Wow, you got so much stuff on there."
That's because you're
Fairfax County, or I can't even tell. All I see is a big old police on the side of it.
I had, for the first time, DWR pull up to me the other day when I was out on one of the reservoirs, and I got to say, I was shocked. He was giving me a little high five. He's like, "Hey, you're doing the right thing." I was like, I have never seen DWR out here, doing checks and stuff. Good on you guys. Yeah. It was good. Law-abiding citizen. That's me all the way. Going through some of these real quick. Forgive me real quick while I'm trying to stay up with the leaderboards and some of the judging here, guys. I know everyone likes to see they like their own edification. Excuse me. We like to.
Hey Jim, take a look at NVKBA, man. See what's going on there. See if
sure
how the Potomac River's fishing overall with 50 guys on the water.
Are there 50? Do we have 51?
I think there's 50, yeah. Or 48, 49, something like that.
50 would have been nicer because then it's more money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's whatever.
Bear with me, guys, for 1 second here, okay?
Right.
I would have signed up, dude, but they just started too late.
Yeah, it's a hard part.
Hey, I was catching fish, and Dustin Good saw me catch fish, and he's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?"
You can't do that. That's cheating.
That's cheating. I'm like,
no, it's not.
Yeah, bear with me while I pull this up, guys. MKBA on trail stop number 5, caught up Potomac 2. Mike Ortega, man, talk about a stand-up guy as well.
oh my God, if you don't like Mike Ortega, something's wrong with you.
I have so much respect for him, and it's not. Here's the thing: there is no butt kissing, no six kissing whatsoever. It's not like that. Mike is a really, really stand-up guy. I consider him a really good friend. And I tell you, if anyone has integrity, aside from who's on the screen right now amongst those anglers, it definitely is Mike. I know he's not fishing today because I was talking to him. I was actually trying to bring him on the show, onto the broadcast, and he said he's got other things going on, but they're going to have their Closeout Championship award ceremony later on. Mike, it's going to be at 1600, right?
Yeah, 1,600 hours at Tim's River Shore. So all you boys from the KFL too, if you want to join, Tim's River Shore in Dumfries is the spot to be at 4:00.
I heard they're closing that place, dude.
Yeah, so they are.
They
so
are.
They
They are.
It was actually really weird. It was a huge legal battle, and at one point I thought they were supposed to close in July, but I guess they got another month out of it. So, which is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, pop over here to MBKBA. Looks like right now, let me go back here. So stop number 5, Total Potomac 2. Nate Crossan, top of the leaderboard is 72 1/4. Nathan Charles, 18 1/4. Chris Owens bringing up the number 3 spot, 14 1/4, followed up by Charlie Hill and Kyle Hernandez, sitting at 14 inches and 13.5.
Well, I guess I need to turn around then, man.
Yeah, that means
I know where Chris Owens is, so
yeah.
I'll go bother him.
If anything, if you know where Nathan Charles is at, hey, he's the number 1 right
Or
now
Nate,
with 18 1/4.
Well, Nate Cross has 72 inches though.
So
Right?
right now, yeah, 72 1/4. Oh, you know where Nate's at? You said. I'm sorry.
No. I know where Chris is, but I wish I knew where Nate was because then I'd.
That's a lot. Yeah, you think about it. Fishing on the Potomac like that, he's definitely put up a lot of numbers like that.
Oh, he fishes the Potomac quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean
That's crazy though. I mean, look, you've got one guy that's doing pretty well, and the whole field's basically skunked.
that tells you something, though, doesn't it? That tells you.
does.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I don't know him personally, but I've seen his name so many times when I'm checking my app and I'm trying to submit fish as well, and I'll see his name up there. He definitely is a hell of an angler. Yeah, I got to say, MBKBA, being an outstanding organization, I think of them as being like the Cheers as well. Like when you walk in, you remember the old Cheers, the TV series? Yeah. So everyone knows everyone there. It's all that very, very friendly atmosphere because we're all within close proximity to each other. Not to say spread out all over the nation, but within that close proximity. So you're going to see those anglers out on the water as well when you're out there in different locations, just like Mike was alluding to. So, Mike, if you can find that 72 1/4 winner out there right now, hey, that might help benefit. Bring you and the Warhawks up on the top of the leaderboard, keep you up there, huh?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Speaking of which, let's find out where we're sitting right now. Give me 1 second. I'll bring up an overview of where we're sitting and pop it up on the screen. Excuse me, on the screen here. Yep. Warhawk still sitting at 45 1/2. Followed up on, so Privateer is sitting with 14 inches. Looks like James Quinn, like we talked about before, I think I mentioned him. He's got a 14 up on the board right now. Good for him. All right. So Copperhead's leading 100 1/2 inches over the 14. Lone Star Bandits 68 3/4 over the Hurricanes 17 1/4. John Fox still sitting up there at the number 1. John, I got to say that was I like the way you had that cast just now. That cast that you just had right now. Going to have to trademark that, sir. So, Mike, interesting fact here about bass. Bass need to consume 10 pounds of forage to gain 1 pound of body weight. So if a bass eats 1,000 1-inch
Shoot, I wish my
bluegill,
body was like that.
yeah, I know, I know, right? What do you think about it? I mean, I would be so overweight right now. If a bass eats 1,000 1-inch bluegill, it'll only grow 1 pound.
Wow.
1,000 1-inch bluegill. And they're going to try to eat every one of them. So hopefully we can get. I've got a little change up in the broadcast today. So I want to do something called set the hook. That's what I'm calling it. All right. So bring that metaphor to life. If we can find someone to bring onto the broadcast who is not an angler, or they are thinking about becoming an angler, if they're kind of on the fence about it, what can we do to convince them to get into the sport of bass fishing, to help not only contribute, bring that esprit de corps, adversity when it comes to the tournaments, but ultimately conservation. And that's ultimately the key when it comes to bass fishing. How do we give back? How do we keep those big bass out there? Because for the longest time, catch and release, which ultimately is selective harvesting. If you know John Odenkirk, he's the lead fisheries biologist for Northern Virginia and I believe also DC, but he's all around that region there. But wealth of knowledge. And one of the things he once cited to me was the wording selective harvest. Why did they keep the big bass for so many years? Well, because they would catch trophy bass. They would have them. They wanted to have them mounted. And of course, if you're going to set records, you have to harvest that bass. Unfortunately, though, that's what's decimated those double digits. And so that's what's made it very difficult for them today to try to find them. And so with their F1 program, and they're trying to now bring back, ultimately, make the screen so it's a little bit better here. They're trying to bring back those bigger bass and make them double digits. They've crossbred the northern bass strain with the Florida strain. They did this a couple of years ago, and so they're seeing a pretty good turnaround as far as the growth rates. That's not to say that they're seeing more double-digit bass, because that's not what they're going to see right now. It takes a while for those bass to get there. So if we're talking a growth rate of 1 to 2 pounds a year, depending on how they're eating, what the weather temperatures, are, what the water temperatures are, obviously being influenced by that, and of course where they're located at, what's available to them for that forage. Hopefully within the next 5 years we should start seeing some monster bass start to take over the Northern Virginia area, especially Virginia.
I truly believe, man, honestly, these states that are truly serious about conservation and getting the bass population up to where, it's going to be, a touristic spot. I think they need to consult what Texas is doing in their Share Local program. Texas has got it going on. They understand bassing and bass fishing itself brings in so much money from a touristic standpoint. It's worth it for them to invest all the resources they can into the Share Local program. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and look what they did. Look what that's produced in Texas this past spring. I mean, you're talking about. Look, we've seen 60-pound bags being caught. 60 pounds.
That's insane.
I mean, that's insanity.
It is insanity.
And it's been the talk of bass fishing. I haven't heard so much of a buzz in bass fishing in quite some time, like what happened with Texas in the spring here. Obviously they had that deep freeze and all that stuff, man. But I mean, I can't say enough about how Texas manages, and their conservation program is it's well above anybody else. I mean, it's not even close.
It is.
It really is. Now, I would say a close second will probably be Florida. I mean, Florida does, a good stock program. The only thing I don't like about Florida is how they kill the grass, man. Their grass management is pathetic. They've ruined the St. Johns River, and they've absolutely ruined it. And it's a shame.
Talk a little bit about that. How did that happen, if you don't mind me asking? Because I'm not.
Well, I mean, a lot of the homeowners and stuff like that in the Okeechobee area. Now, St. John's actually flows north, right? But what happens is these the St. John's River was overtaken by the hyson grass and the Sylvania and stuff like that. So to kill all that out, they sprayed the crap out of that river. I mean, they started Palatka and worked its way down south. It's really affected the Okeechobee system, the Okeechobee Lake, because of the runoff and stuff like that. And I mean, it's a shame. A lot of times the Bassmaster Elite Series will start their tournaments at St. John's River, just for that reason, because the grass was so healthy, and these guys were putting up 100-pound bags right off the get-go. Well, they're not seeing that anymore, and because they have killed. I personally went to Lake George, and it is a shame what they've done. I mean, they have killed. I mean, all that grass through there, and I mean the bass is just gone. I mean, they're not catching anywhere close to 100 pounds right now.
Yeah. I mean, it only makes sense if you kill the flora and fauna that's in the area, you're going to see the numbers start to diminish significantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, these bass are basically siphoning through all that chemicals through their gills, and I mean, it's going to stun their growth, stun the population overall itself. It's a shame, man.
Yeah. So what do you think we can do here in Virginia? Not to say that we can do anything outside of the state right now, but if we as an organization could do one thing, me personally, I think it definitely comes down to awareness and what we can do by raising community awareness to help keep everything clean for the most part. That's where we start with everything.
I want to be honest with you,
what
man.
Do you think?
And I'm going to tick off a lot of people. I think they need to regulate the bow fishermen, man. These bow fishermen are just rogue. They have destroyed. They have destroyed a lot in terms of. Now, listen, if they want to go after the big 30-pound, 40-pound blue cats and stuff like that, and they want to do that, go right ahead, because they're invasive species. But they have destroyed the grass carp. I mean, right now the Potomac River's choked out right now because I believe a lot of these bow fishermen are just absolutely killing these grass carp out. They've decimated the snakehead population.
The snakehead population,
and the bass fishing exponentially has gone up since the snakehead have shown up here. I mean, it's not even close. Like the aggressiveness, the amount of numbers of bass that you're catching, has been amazing since the snakeheads have been here, because they're fighting for
the same food source. Right.
Yeah,
right.
And they didn't have that competition before, so they just were. I mean, just not interested. Now they got to compete against these snakehead, and these bass are eating these snakehead fries and stuff like that. So they've become healthier, they've become bigger, they've become more aggressive, and But the bow fishermen here have absolutely, I mean, just decimated the carp population and the snakehead population, man. And I tell you what, it's had a resounding effect, especially this year, guys. I mean, I've noticed it more this year on this river than in times past, man. So I don't know, man. It's a shame.
It's definitely something that it tugs at me as well, because I've seen them when they're out at night. If I'm coming off of Quiet Creek, for example, late at night, and I've got a good friend who's always out there with me, we'll see them out there getting ready. They're actually sitting in one spot. Even when I lived in Belmont Bay there, you would see them at night. The first time I ever saw one of those boats coming at nighttime, it looked like a spaceship on the water. They had so many lights glaring into the water to illuminate everything for them to try to sit there and tag one of those fish. But I 100% agree. Plus, it takes away from the sport of fishing. I'm talking about, like, it's just an unfair advantage. It's one thing to go out and throw lures that are not a natural food source to the bass. It's another to go out there and try with a bow and arrow. If you watch videos that you could shoot from a high rise or an apartment window overlooking an area where there are bass or snakehead or carp that are out there, as long as you have the distance of that bow that can reach it, they'll do it.
Well, I don't understand. Jim,
really upsets me.
I mean, look, I don't understand how you can sit here and justify a spotlight like that. You can't spotlight deer. You know what I mean? No, you can't spotlight deer.
No, same thing.
So what makes them be able to catch? I mean, look, it's game. It's a natural resource. It's game. It's an animal. So why, if you can't spotlight deer, what makes them think that they can just go out here, at night and these fish are sitting ducks, man? It's a shame. It's a shame.
Because you've had more people who have raised and voiced their opinion about it in the deer hunters than you do the bass anglers. I don't think enough people maybe have voiced their opinion as well.
That's where the money is. I mean, like, the money resource is with the deer hunters and stuff like that. There's a ton of effort and resource that gets put into that. But another thing too, man, like, I'll come to the boat ramp and I know I'm on my soapbox, but I'll come to the boat ramp and it's not uncommon to see gar and carp and snakeheads just laid up all over the freaking boat ramp, because these suckers just come in, they shoot them up, they empty their boats out at all the fish, and then leave them on the boat ramp, man. That's ridiculous.
Let me tell you now, there's not many things that really. There's not many things that I really would go off on. I tend to mind my own business unless I see something that's just morally wrong or ethically wrong. But I'll tell you right now, if I saw something like that, I would definitely I'd go unprofessional very quick because that's not who I am. I don't like that. I like I said before, I tend to keep to myself because I don't like to get on other people's business. It's just not my nature. But when you see
I
things
tend
like
to have a
that,
sense of humor failure when it comes to stuff like that, man. I mean, that
I definitely lose my sense of humor when it comes to things like that.
that to me is just it's a shame.
Well, it takes away from what we're doing, just like you're saying, and it's decimating things that we know are helping contribute to the ecosystem to find the equilibrium of that balance that we desperately need.
Correct.
Not only just for ourselves, but our future generations. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say we are the world. I'm not trying to preach that right now. But I am saying that in the aspect of conservation.
Well, you can't save the world unless you start with your backyard. You know.
I agree, 100%. Start with what our little patch of grass is and move from there.
That's right.
So, if you had 50% of the population right now of all anglers who would say that they are bass fishermen, they produce a net worth of $60 billion right now just for the sport. So that tells you that we have a lot of people that can make an influence when it comes to trying to at least change these areas, and that's just starting small. So I don't know, maybe things that we can think about for future action and future conversation. So, Greg, did you freeze up on us, or are you stuck in a Vogue position here? Mike, can you hear me? I know you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. I was trying to run my boat
you got the turbine kicked up. I think we got
turbine kicked up. You know it. So
go ahead, do your thing, man. Don't let me interrupt you, please. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go back over here and I'm gonna manage some of the entries real quick and take a look. Okay. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for anybody else who wants to pop back up, Terry Brundle saying, I don't support bow fishing at all. I agree. Terry, that's just like we were talking about. It definitely takes away from the sport, the love of the sport, and what we're all about. We're trying to make it equal and give a fair advantage across the playing field. And when you go out there with that bow fishing, what are you doing? All you're doing is just making things worse for everyone else out there who's trying to do the right thing. And it's an unfair advantage to the fish. Decimating the populations, taking them down, and doing what has empirically happened when it comes to a lot of different creatures and animals, whether we're talking about, hunting, and I'm not going to dive down this rabbit hole, or if we're talking about whaling, fishing as a whole, the industry, it decimates these populations and it takes away from our natural resources that we have. So it's all part of a balance, the balance that we know these bass are contributing to, that we know the carp are contributing to. One definitely needs the other. Let's see here. All right. So what I'm going to try to do, since we don't have anyone on, I'm going to try to see if I can bring someone on here real quick. I'm going to message them while I got this up and running. And if I can, I'm going to see if we can try to convince someone to take up bass fishing. Let's see here. I'm also going to be checking the leaderboards to see how we're doing. I'll bring it up for you guys real quick. That way you can at least see what's going on as far as the action. Now it has been updated. Give it 1 second while I bring it up on the screen for you. I'll go ahead and make that the primary view for you. Okay, yeah. So right now, Warhawk's still sitting atop the Privateers, 44.5 over the 14. The Bandits topping the Hurricanes, 100 inches on the board, 100.25 over their 17.25. That's not to say that Louisiana can't turn it around. Having some deep roots from Louisiana myself, coming from my mother's and father's side both, it's definitely something they can do. And think about it. Where are the national championships going to be held for KBF this year? It's going to be down there in Bossier City, which is actually where my family's from. Still got a house down there and everything. So definitely a lot of love. Hopefully they can do something. Florida Copperheads pushing up to 130.5 over Carolina Castro, sitting still at 14 inches with John Fox. Top the leaderboards at 63 3/4. So I'll leave that up for you guys real quick so you don't have to watch my ugly mug while I'm trying to find what we need right now to bring this angler on. And hopefully we can change someone's mind today, make him a bass angler. And I think I may have someone lined up. I'm also reaching out to John Odenkirk. I want to give him a shout out for everything that he does. As a local fisheries biologist, he's actually the lead local fisheries biologist for Northern Virginia in Virginia. But he a wealth of knowledge. If we can try to get him on here, I want to be able to talk to him about bass conservation so he can help educate everyone as well. Because I mean that's really what it's all about. And of course, we have this love of the sport and trying to make sure that hey, we stay competitive with our fishing tournaments. Also want to thank those who are helping us today, who can't be on the water to help fish with us because they are out either helping restore power or helping support everything that we do because of the storm that just came through and knocked out a lot of power for Northern Virginia and the area that we're at right now. That includes cell phone coverage and everything. So it seems like I think with the storms that did come in, it means a lot of people aren't going to be able to come on and log on right now to help stream some of their opinions and some of their catches, which I know everyone wants to see, especially myself. So, yeah, cell coverage for the evening game will be a challenge for both teams. That way you know what to expect when it does come to broadcasting. Okay, so with that being said, right now, 8:43. You know what? We're going to wait a few minutes before we take a break, and I'm still trying to plug in one of our guests here that I want to have on the broadcast. But in the meantime, so sitting out on the Potomac and being out here in the water, where I live at, I'm pretty close to Aquia Creek, and I know that the bass fishing there can be really spot on, or it can be completely dead. So I got to say, I would have played the same role. I would have played the same card. I would have gone down to the Potomac down there in the Occoquan area or Chapawamsik and played in those areas over there. That's where everyone else is at. That's where MBKBA is at. That's where KFL is at. And hopefully there's not going to be too much traffic that's going to interfere. But if you have the tide coming in at this time, are you going to change up the game because you've got some rain coming your way? Now, one of the things about rain that can help turn this tournament around, and it looks like it could be one of those things that could play a role today. And I think Greg hit the nail on the head before when he was talking about the tides, the ebb and flow of the tide. Those tidal waters, as they're pushing up continually, and it's perpetually meeting peak tide, which is going to happen around 11:30, 12. What does that do for you? And now meet that and combine that with the rains that are coming in. When those rains hit, if they're significantly colder or cooler, rather, not really cold in this time of year, but cooler than the water temperature that you have, which I don't have in front of me, I apologize. But, let's say the temperature right now is, sitting around the 80s because of the rains we had last night, which I'm assuming is probably 82, 83 degrees. If those rains come in and they cool off that water a little bit more, what's going to happen is it's going to hit that like a blanket all the way down. And when it hits that bottom, it does. It hits it with a force that it starts to kick up that debris, and it starts to make it very, very difficult for those bass, those big bass especially, that could be sitting on the bottom, to be able to stay on the bottom, because now all that debris is going to get up into their gills, into the gill platelets, and they're going to start to come up and move in shallow, or move into the areas where they know they can at least be sit there comfortably. So how does that affect the game? How does that affect the league fishing today for everyone who's in these areas that have been affected by it? So we'll see. Since we really don't have anyone right now, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. So it's 8:45. We're going to come back on within, say, 30 minutes. And hopefully by then I can have a guest lined up for you. And then we'll see you. Stay safe. And remember, 22 a day is 22 too many. We'll see you in just a few. Okay, we're back. So we took a little break from broadcasting because we had a lot of difficulty with the cell service out there for our anglers on the water. So that is to say that there's definitely going to be problems probably throughout the day because of the storms that came through and knocked everything out. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and try to bring some updates for you guys real quick on what's going on out in the field out there. So let me click over so I can bring it up on my screen a little bit further. Excuse me, a little bit closer right now. So as I was going through, I was taking a look at some of the fish. I just want to give you guys a heads up. I know it's hard to see your screens out there with the sun beating down like it is, but when you are submitting the photographs, just make sure if you want, take a second photograph as an insurance policy. That way you're always good to go. So as you can see, Washington Warhawks sitting atop the leaderboard for this between the matchup with the Privateers at 44.5 still against the Privateers 14 inches. I think we got Mr. Quinn from the Privateers is the one with the fish, James Quinn. All right, so moving back over to the Lone Star Bandits against the Hurricanes. They're sitting right now at 171.25, which is pretty good. That's some pretty good insurance for them right now. But like I said before, don't discount Louisiana because of the reception going on. They may have fish they haven't submitted. They're sitting right now at 17.25. Moving down to Florida Copperheads, where John Fox is just absolutely killing it, helping contribute to the team. Teamwork with Danny Gann. I think he has the leading fish at 20.25, but they're sitting with a total of 161.25 over the Carolina Casters, 14 inches. So John Fox with 94 combined total inches. Sitting at the number 2 spot, Derek Miller, 57.5. Followed up, nipping at the heels is Brian Hout with 51.25. Jason Denise, 45.25. And of course, Greg Nozar with 44.5. That leaves Danny Gann with 36, Clifton Allen, 32, Jeff Isham, 30.5, and Brad Case, 17.25. And at the number 10 spot, James Quinn with 14 inches, as we said before. So that is your wrap up right now for the leaderboards. So what does that mean for the rest of the anglers out there facing the difficulties that they are? It's all about I'm going to talk about Northern Virginia specifically. It's all about the ebb and flow of the tidal basin right now, how the water's coming in, it's rising up. It's up a foot since this morning, early morning. Peak tide's going to hit right around 11:30. I mean, it just fluctuates. There's no guaranteed science on the actual timeline on the timestamp, but you definitely have a good advantage when the tide does hit the peak. And then as the tide does start to go out, you're going to have that golden hour to 2 hours in which you're going to be able to just start hammering those fish. And I said before, that combined with the weather that could be coming in, it's going to make it pretty interesting. So we also got the other teams that are coming on the board later on in the day. And then as they start to come in, we're talking about, as I mentioned before, you've got the Rough Riders coming out of Southeast Texas, hitting up against the Arkansas Hogs, and of course the Motor City Ambassadors and the Appalachian Anglers. We'll see how that starts to square up the boards as well. How they're going to do against each other, fishing either out of state or out of their own territory or on the road. So, and I think Greg Nozar was hitting on that before. You've got two teams that now know when they're coming together, they have familiarity with the waters that they're on, whether it's because of the style or type of body water, whether it's the river or because they're coming from that familiar territory, fighting on their own turf. It's going to make a good matchup. Now, as I've said many times before, I'm still getting a grasp of all the teams. And as I'm slowly starting to pick up on all the strengths and weaknesses, it's going to be able to help me give you better details on what I think some of the anticipations are going to be and maybe possibly some of the difficulties that lie ahead. Since we're not on a reservoir today, since we're not, it's not going to include that. You've got a lot of teams that are also from other leagues, which are competing in the same bodies of water that we have our guys as well from KFL. So specifically NVKBA, hey, shout out to them. It's definitely one of the clubs I love. I love being a part of as well as KFL. But I'll tell you, NVKBA being on the water, I know some of the guys that have been messaging, they have the same difficulties. They've got that, poor reception for their cell service. The storms had knocked that out. And of course, all over the continental United States, all over the Eastern Seaboard, all the storms that knocked everything out. Continental United States. I sound like I'm back at work right now. But all those storms that are starting to knock out the reception, it's making it really difficult. So either you're going to have lack of broadcasting or you're going to have lack of submitting when it comes to the fish for entry. So it means a lot of game-changing fish could come onto the board and start to sway a lot of the people or a lot of those teams that are down in the brackets, which now are going to be able to pop back up and give the adversity that we've been looking for, some of those good matchups. I encourage you to come on right now. If you want to go ahead and stream with us, we can go ahead and talk, watch you catch fish. or we can talk bass and in conservation about the actual sport itself. But ultimately, this is what I think is going to be most important today. You're going to see some of the guys right now. Let me go back over here to the leaderboard. So Warhawks, I'm going to make a call on this one, and I'm going to say that the Warhawks are probably going to keep on the leaderboard. You got some really strong players on both sides. Obviously, you've got Rob Brown, and I'm going to stick with because I've talked to them a couple times. I really don't know too many people on the team, but James Quinn is up on their broadbound. Once he brings some heat to the table, hopefully, if he has cell receptor right now, he can go ahead and start submitting fish and make things interesting. With the Warhawks, it's going to be a tough grind, but you've got Greg Nozar on there right now leading. Helping lead the team with everything that's happening on ground with the title base, and it's just anybody's game. It's anybody's guess. Along with a good friend of mine, Mike Hogan, he's out there grinding it out. So we'll see how they hold up against the rest of the day as we start to push throughout some of the warmer weather that's actually upon us right now. Sunny outside, clear skies, but as those clouds start pushing in, hopefully it'll keep things a little bit interesting. So over on the Lone Star Bandits, with their leader right now, Derek Miller with the biggest fish, 171.25 is the total for Lone Star Bandits. Louisiana Hurricanes with 17.25. That's Brad Case pushing out there. I'm curious where Brad's actually fishing at, which part of Louisiana. And again, forgive me because I'm still learning these anglers that are out there. Hopefully, I can get a good grasp on that soon. With that being said, the Florida Copperheads, Texas and Florida, they're always crowd pleasers when it comes to big bass and pushing the big numbers. Sitting right now, Danny Gann with a 20.25-inch bass. So pretty good sized bass, but by Florida standards, I know they get much, much bigger, 23, 24, all the way up. So I'm waiting to see some big numbers start to pop up there. So right now they're sitting between 17 and 20 as far as an average fish, but their total, like I said before, 161.25. So only time will tell. I haven't checked the weather as far as where they're at right there. I don't know what they're going on. So we got Greg out here says, I'm confused. Shouldn't this be on live KFL Fishing League? It says KBBT. No, I've got Kayak Fishing League. It may be a double dip. So Greg, I'm reading your comments and I hope I say your name. Kransowicki. Kransowicki. I don't want to chop up your name and I apologize if I'm saying it incorrectly. So I don't know why I would say that. Oh, I think what it was is when I responded, I replied back, and it probably came from that account. That's what that is. So yeah, because right now we're early broadcasting. Let's see here. Actually, hang on. Maybe we did make a little goof up here, huh? Let's see here. Hopefully, Greg, I made a mistake and hopefully I just fixed it because I think we had KBBT on there. Let me get my butt cheek for that later, I know. But hopefully we should be good to go now. So we've got 2 on there, KFL for both YouTube and Facebook. Now, that means that the new link the links I got off for this afternoon, they're still going to be good to go, but I'll double check on them and send them if I need to, make sure everyone gets a new link that's out there. Goodness gracious. How could I make such a goof up as that? I appreciate you telling me that. So while I'm broadcasting to you, I've also answered some questions from some of the anglers out in the field. And it looks like, yeah, some of the anglers are asking questions about some of the entries. That's just, that's not a problem. Give me, so that way I can at least keep everything going here and keep everything smooth. Hey, golly, I got to apologize. I thought we had everything. Yep. Okay. No, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Greg. Made a mistake on that one, didn't I? I get a little icon like that, so I should have paid a little bit better attention when I was clicking on that. That's my goof up for the week. I don't get any more, so you won't see any more. We should be good. But by all means, I encourage you to go ahead and log in, stream with me, talk with me, show me the kind of fish you're catching. I want to see all those big bass that we know we can put up on the board so we can keep these things going as far as the upward momentum from all the teams out there. So like I said, about 11 o'clock is what Greg was saying before. The next set of teams are going to be able to kick in and go lines wet so they can start adding to the board and we can keep everyone apprised of what's happening out there. I did want to start a new segment, or not a segment, but a new part of the show, of this broadcast, where we can bring non-anglers on and try to convince them that they need to take up bass fishing. Calling it Set the Hook. So that way we can try to get them in on bass fishing. And I'm going to send one more link real quick so I can try to bring him on. Let's see here. We're going to send that link back out for everyone. That way, if anyone did make it into the stream, we can make sure and ensure that they are making it into the stream. So give me 1 second while we do this. I do not want anyone to be left out, especially when we know we can get more people in on the action here. Greg, I owe you, big guy. Thank you so much. I can't believe I didn't see how that happened. I know that that was probably something I should have seen earlier. And we'll go ahead and send that back out. Now, as far as when it comes to submitting the fish, I would definitely encourage you to take as I said before, take like an insurance photograph. I know it's hard to see your phones. I myself know when you're out on the water and you're taking those measurements and you're watching everything that you have to have. It starts with the standard pushing the fish against the far left side of the fence there on your catch board and making sure that the caudal fin is not covered, that your hand's not under the gill plate, the mouth, it can't be open for a 1/4 inch or more. These are the different things we want to make sure that we're paying attention to. That's not to say that there are things that we don't do to ensure that we have the maximum length out of that fish. Just make sure though that if you are, you take additional photograph just in case. I myself, whenever I have the fish on the board, I'm snapping photographs over the top because it's on my lap on the catch board there. And I know if I have anything with a question of a doubt later on, as I'm starting to submit, this is when things really start to help me out when I've taken those additional insurance photographs. So I encourage you to do so. Pretty good about when it comes to judging to make sure that we're taking a look at these things to ensure consistency and that everything, everyone is abiding by the rules. Not that anyone wouldn't be. We all have integrity in the sport, but give everyone a chance to redeem if they need to. So that's really what it comes down to. So I got some messages coming out from Rough Riders real quick. I want to make sure I keep anyone. That is correct. I think what we're doing is we're trying to make sure everyone has the link with which includes all KFL, not the previous accidental KBBT, which is again my fault. Yep, you can hear me typing away on the old keyboard here. So one of the things we were talking about as far as when Greg was on before also was the conservation, how we give back, how do we ensure this sport's going to survive for future generations, and making sure while we're out on the waters and we're competing in these tournaments that it's not just about the competition amongst us, which obviously that's one of the biggest parts because we love doing this sport. It's a passion of ours, but also it brings out that rivalry that we know we're all yearning for. So what does that mean for conservation? And Greg hit the nail on the head when he was talking about going out there. And when we see these guys who are bow fishing, I hate that as well. And it's one of those things that really kind of, it eats away at me because I don't think it's a fair advantage whatsoever. So when we're out there doing the right thing and showing that, showing our integrity, I think is probably the best thing to start with, along with cleaning up our waterways, making sure, like if you have, for me, if I have a bird's nest and I start cutting that bird's nest out of there, I'm not throwing that stuff in the water. There's nothing worse than reeling that in. So especially if you get caught up in someone else's bird nest and you've got a trophy fish on there that can help you win and get to the playoffs for the KFL. So you see what I did there? You like that? That being said, I encourage you to go ahead and come on in and show me what's going on in the water. I want to see what's going on in your part of your neck of the woods, especially if you have some good reception. Unfortunately, the storms knocked us out today for a lot of the guys that are on the water, so we're not going to have a lot of good cell reception. That includes MBKBA, who's also fishing right next to KFL on the water. So if we're talking about some of the teams specifically, let me bring up one of the leaderboards over here. So I know I can tap into last week's, and I'll try to do that here shortly. But I know that we had ultimately 3 teams right now which were undefeated, and I know one of those was the Lone Star Bandits. Let me bring up the other one because I had you up on my phone here real quick. We had a total of 3 teams which are undefeated. And I want to get to the standings because I want to find out which teams right now that are undefeated, where they're standing as far as on the leaderboard. And that's going to be a good litmus test for the possible outcome of this week. Let's see here. And everything is available on the KFL webpage as well. So that's actually where I'm going right now, because I love to go out here and take a look and see what we have as far as the most recent updates. They do a pretty good job of keeping everyone on the most recent updates. Motor City Ambassadors 4-0, Alabama Hammers 4-0, and of course Lone Star Bandits 4-0. So those are your 3 teams that are undefeated. So right now we're way down the other ones. Once they start kicking in and get lines wet, then that's going to be a good advantage for everyone else. Oh, I think I had a little background right there. I apologize. So, Lisa. Oh, Lisa, I'm definitely going to add you to the stream. Once she has any kind of reception. I think she's down there in Texas. Lisa fishing for the Rough Riders. One of the things about Texas is that they have phenomenal resources, especially when it comes to bass. And so when you look at the size of the bass from Texas against the ones in Florida, I got to say, those make for the greatest competitions, especially when you know the numbers they can put up, those big monster fish. One of my personal favorites is Florida. I haven't fished too much down in Texas. I'd be interested to find out what are the strategies down there? What are the game-changing ways that they're going to have to adapt if they had some of the storms come down their way? Because I know there was a lot of rain this last week, especially when Lisa was on. Yeah, see, and she was trying to log on, but I think it's her reception might be a little bad. So, and look at that. We even have bad connectivity when it comes to the internet as well, where we're at. So I get little pop-ups that talk about how much we have for the reception, and it's mediocre right now, which I don't really like as well. So now, if you have anyone that you feel is sitting on the fence when it comes to getting into bassing, let us know. Let me know. Reach out on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, and hey, send me their link, send me their name. We got Lisa popping up now, and we'll try to get them onto the broadcast so we can try to convince people. Lisa, I appreciate you coming on to help out here. Can you hear me? She's probably waiting on reception because of what's going on down there. Before she tried to log on, I think.
All right.
It's okay. Take your time.
I can't see you or hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Am I by myself now?
No, you're not by yourself. Can you hear me now? Lisa, can you hear me? I think it's a reception down there, Lisa. Well, listen, if you try to stay on, we'll try to keep you on the stream here so that way we can talk bass and down your way, down your neck of the woods, represented for the Rough Riders. So right now, I don't think I have anything on the board. We can switch back over and try to bring up one of the streams here so we can bring everyone up to speed with the most recent information, which I only gave a few minutes ago. But things can change pretty quickly, especially when you start to have new entries. So if the Rough Riders got their line swept, that means they have a possibility for adding entries here pretty quick. Still sitting atop the leaderboard, John Fox with 110 inches. Wow, John, we had him on before. When we were streaming. He cut that 18-incher. Derek Miller sitting 57.5. Brian Howell at the number 3 spot with 51.25. So again, same placement for all the other teams. Copperheads sitting over the Casters, 162.75, and the Warhawks topping up the Privateers, 44.5 to their 14 inches. So, Lisa, can you hear me yet? I know she's looking. She's waiting. You know, it's kind of fun to watch. Now, if she can't hear me or anything, but if she catches a fish, she's going to do everything not knowing that she's streaming right now, catching fish on. So hopefully she can find some while she's out and about. So I know last week she was the co-host on when we were broadcasting. And one of the things that definitely helps when they're out in the field out there, we're not trying to distract anything, but is knowing the terrain and knowing what you're up against as far as the conditions. What's the water temperature? What's the wind? How is it affecting? Got John Fox coming out here so we can add him to the stream. John, can you hear me?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Hey, I got to say, you're killing it out there.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think you're doing pretty well. You're doing pretty well. I wouldn't take away from that. Modest angler, you. What's the trade secret for today?
Huh?
I'd say, what's the trade secret for you today? Stay in Florida?
No, just a ounce and a half punch
rig.
rig.
Sharing the secrets. Hey, so you're doing a lot of punch over there?
In this lake, I do, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you mentioned it before when I asked you what's your most preferred if you had to go to your top 3. I think you did say punching, didn't you?
Yeah.
Fluke being the other one?
Yes. Well, originally I'm from Indiana.
Oh, Hoosier. No kidding.
Yeah, so up north, I mean, I was throwing, a drop shot, a tube.
I know all too well. Trust me, all too well. I got a good friend of mine, a fellow angler, Dominic Wilson. He does broadcasting sometimes as well. I think he's been a guest on some of the shows, but he kills it with the tube. I know some of the waters that we fish together. We went out together one time, and I think between the two of us, we probably caught about 30, 35 fish, and most of them dinks, but he had a tube almost the entire time, and he was just slaying them. So I know it can be definitely successful. For me, I don't have that kind of success when it comes to tubes. It's just not it's not in my repertoire, my arson, but I definitely have my flukes in there usually.
I throw an A-rig. I love fishing for smallmouth.
Yeah. Is that your preferred? Is that your preferred? Do you rather go smallmouth fishing than largemouth?
I prefer smallmouth. They're just so much fun.
Oh my God, for sure. It's funny. Did you know that smallmouth are actually more closely related to spotted bass than the northern largemouth is to the Florida largemouth, the Florida strain?
Really?
Little bass fact there. I like to throw little nuggets of information out every now and then. Stay tuned for more tips and information on facts, huh? So what's the weather like where you're at right now? It doesn't seem like you've got a little bit of overcast, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be slowing you down too much. You got a good strategy that you stuck with and going to stick with the rest of the day?
I mean, this morning I lost a good one on a chatterbait, but I was waiting for the sun to come up just so I can pull this rod out, get them up underneath the mats.
Yeah. Start punching and get them in that shade so they know. Yeah, I agree. So I don't know obviously I don't know where you're at or where you're fishing at directly, but do you have a lot of anglers out around you that are encroaching on some of the areas that you're at, or are you pretty alone like you were before?
I'm the only one out here on this lake.
Good. Yeah, that's the way I like it too. So Samantha
I got
Brown,
the whole lake to myself.
That's the way I like it too. That's the way I like it. I mean, what angler doesn't like to have the whole lake to themselves, especially when they're not pressured or pressuring the fish, taking potentially, PBs out of your path, huh? So you've got a shout out from Samantha Brown saying, "Looking good, Fox."
Yeah, that's my wife.
I assume I just relaying the information. So that's good though. You got a good support team and good support structure, huh? I got to make sure I pass pass that on to my wife when I'm
Yeah,
out there sometime.
yeah, she's my number one fan. There's one. Oh,
There
he
you
dropped
go.
it.
You drop it? Hey, I'll put you solo here in a second if you do. Show us how it's done. So, when it comes to punching for you, I noticed you're pushing a lot of weight. I think you said you had a
No, he
big
don't
1
want to
ounce
come
on there.
back.
Do you think the other teams that you're up against right now, because you guys are sitting in pretty good spot, do you think the other teams, is it just because of the lack of cell service, or you think that right now it's just a tough bite for them? It's not to say they don't have the talent, because obviously they do, but do you think it's just a tough bite for them, like it is for a lot of other teams that are on the water right now, especially after these storms that have hit the East Coast?
Yeah, this Tender Rock right now is fishing weird.
Yeah.
Like all the big bites. I've been fishing it for a while now, and all the big bites here lately have been coming like after 3 o'clock.
Right. No kidding. So it's actually later on in the day.
Yeah.
Does that change how you're going to approach things? Because I'll give an example, and I know that's a question I ask over and over again, but it's always interesting to me to see how an angler will adjust or adapt to the conditions and when they're on. So, for example, if it's higher in the day, when the sun's higher in the day, midday, uh, especially if there's overcast, I'm going to switch over. If there's overcast, I got that wake bait on. If the water is being kicked up or turned up a little bit with the chop, if it's bright and sunny out and I go to a glide bait or a swim bait, it seems to do a little bit more justice. Obviously, you can have them in the morning times, when, just before that sun cracks over the horizon there. But I know, especially down in your neck of the woods, you've got some pretty successful anglers along with yourself, hitting on big swim baits, big glide baits. Andre Pabon, I know he's not part of the KFL, but he fishes solo, and he's a pretty big name on social media. He's putting up 8-9 pounders consistently every time he goes out. So he's down in your neck of the woods down there. Is that something that changes your strategy in what you're approaching? The way the sun gets up over high, encroaching cloud cover, or do you stick pretty much with what you have, it's going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I do play the weather a little bit. I mean, most of the time down here, from what I've learned, is these bass down here are going to prime 90% of the time they're going to be in 5 foot of water or less.
Right. So, the average depth down there, what would you say the average depth is in the area of that lake you're on right now? Or the deepest parts? How about that? Let's just make it easy.
I mean, most of the lakes that I fish, the average depth, I mean, you can go to Fellsmere, Kenansville, and the average depth is like, 5 foot deep.
Oh my God, shallow, super shallow then.
Now, the lake that I'm fishing in right now, it's a little deeper than that. I'm sitting in 18 feet of water right now.
Okay. I mean, somewhat ideal conditions for when you want to be able to adjust. But I haven't fished in Florida in a while. So my wife's family's down from that neck of the woods, and I know I love it every time I go down there because it makes for great fishing, great angling, of course. But being up in Virginia right now, it's brutal. I know, for example, Greg and Mike, I know the body of water they're fishing on, that tidal basin. It gets to be pretty bad because the grass itself is just everywhere, and you can't throw anything because you're just going to get wrapped up in all that, having fished it so many times. Also, that spatter dock makes it almost virtually impossible, but pushing through there like you're doing and trying to punch through that kind of stuff can produce some monsters. Would you agree? As far as the entries today, I'm just curious as a quick update, because I was going through some of the entries as well, Greg, or excuse me, John. I read Greg's name up on the thing here. So you got 110 inches. That puts you quite a bit, almost double. It's almost double over the number 2 spot. That makes them, gives you a little bit of breathing room. But like I said, with all the reception that's out service wide, it seems like it's going to be a tough day for a lot of the anglers to have to worry about trying to get these fish submitted just in time. So it begs the question: do you stop fishing and then try to submit, or do you wait until the closing time lines are out and then take that last hour and try to take the chance? So I have you in a great spot right now, John, to where if I can get one of my non-angler friends on the line to stream in with us, provided it doesn't distract you too much, I want to see if we can try to get someone into the sport of bass fishing. It doesn't look like he's able to log in here. I've tried giving him all the tools he needs. Bobby Big Gun saying he can't hear him. Yeah, I couldn't hear him either, buddy. I think he's because he's focused on fishing. I think right now I'll just let him answer as he can. He's not muted or anything. So Bobby Big Gun, you putting up a great performance as well out of a different bracket. But I'm glad to see he's on here. I think he's probably got us muted right now. So no, I think I did hear something. Okay, hang on one second. So I had the boss asking me a question, so I had to answer the boss, the home boss, the missus. It's funny because I want to get her out on the water so bad to get into bassing, but I think she's so fed up with all the bass talk around the house, it's probably driven her away from the sport altogether. How do we get the wives to be out on the water with us if they're not native, if it's not something they normally would do? So she gave me the look. So John, as you have you had a lot of luck on this location, this lake that you're on right now over the past, the recent past, or has it been something you just kind of went to today in hopes? I don't know if you can hear me, John. Hopefully he can catch a fish so we can put him solo up there as well. And while we're waiting on him, we're going to still try to keep things going with getting someone out here on our show, on the broadcast. It looks like we have some of the groups can log on here. We're going to try to fix that right now. Trying to get the more the merrier. I wonder why. Because I pushed back out the link. If you're having problems with the link, please hit me up in Messenger. Like I said, I'm going to try to push back out this link to all of our groups that we have so they can cascade it down, because we don't really want to miss out on what we're talking about, and we want to bring you in so we can get some good updates and heads up on what your locations are, what's happening at your locale. So I'm going to send it one more time here. Okay, so in the meantime, yeah, message has been resent. Hopefully that one should work. It's the same one that I sent last time. And so if you can't get to it, then maybe we'll have to either end the broadcast and restart it with a different link, and then I can resend it. I don't mean to make it so difficult. We just want to make sure we get everyone on to the broadcast that needs to be on here and talk about fishing. So in the meantime, I want to bring up last week's results from KFL, week 5. And I want to talk about what we had as far as the winning teams, and what can be expected moving into this week as we start to head towards the playoffs. Here we go. So we can bring everything up here from last week. Yeah. So, and this is what Greg was hit on before about the Motor City Ambassadors, because as last week they squared up against the Warhawks, which is our group here, the local group that we have here in the Northern Virginia area. So taking the Warhawks out with 176 3/4 over a pretty close matchup, 163. So with the Motor City Ambassadors now sitting 4-0 and moving into this week, and they're already, it seems like they're already going to be in good position. They still have a tough road ahead of them. And that being said, what does that really square up for them? It means that now they're going to have to bring their A game because they're on the road as they start to take off against the Appalachian anglers, knowing that territory, being familiar with it, playing on home ground. They're both familiar with the waterways there, the rivers there. So it's going to be interesting to find out how these guys are going to come up against each other initially, and also as they start to move throughout the day. Is it going to be, a team effort? Is it going to be just, person who has that strength on the water right there? Because not everyone is going to have that strength on the river. Some people are going to be better when it comes to the tidal basin versus the river versus a reservoir. I myself prefer a reservoir, even though I was raised on the river. I love river fishing, don't get me wrong, but I like to fish the bank line and move around the bank line. That's just me. If you have anything you want to share your thoughts on with that, please, by all means, come on in with the stream and we'll talk more fishing. So with the Arkansas Hogs, one of the things they have when they faced up against the Louisiana Hurricanes, the Hurricanes took them with 180 3/4. The Arkansas Hogs had 174.5. Still a great matchup, very, very close. We're talking less than 6 inches of difference when it comes to the fish in totality whenever they put them, or what they put up on the board. So again, you have these strengths from each team. What does that mean? And as I'm starting to grasp all the teams that we have and all the different strengths, I'll be able to get into a little bit more in depth. But coming from these different parts of the nation, Louisiana, Arkansas, obviously not, totally different because they're right next to each other. But, the waters that they are fishing are going to be a little bit different because of the altitude and because of the layout. Louisiana, big monster fish. Obviously, that's where KBF's national championships are going to be held this year. When it comes to Arkansas and who they're squaring up, when it comes to Arkansas and who they're squaring up against today, which is going to be the Southeast Texas Rough Riders. I'm really curious to find out how this one's going to play out. Hogs, I think, are definitely going to hold strong and maybe push down on those Rough Riders as far as they can to keep them down on the keep them down and out of the way. But what does that mean for next week? Whoever the winning team is going to be for this one. So I'm curious. I'll see if I can try to find out who's going to be when we start to make our picks, find out what our strengths, find out what our numbers are going to be adding up to, so we know who the favorites are going to be moving into the next week, week 7. Lisa, I'm going to add you to the stream. Hopefully we can get Lisa in. I know she was having trouble before. And in the meantime, see if we can get our guest in. See if I can give them instructions on how to try to get in here. Let's see if Lisa is able to make it on. I know that we had, I know we had John on, but I think he backed out. I couldn't hear him, but I know he was still casting away. He missed one just before that. Hopefully Lisa we can bring her up into the queue. Anyone else that wants to be able to log on and broadcast so we can talk bass and where you're at, possible picks for the next week into week 7 based on today's performances. Tough all around because we had a lot of severe weather come in, knock a lot of things out to include cell, and also the bite for a lot of the East Coast here. It's a tough grind today, it seems so far. People are still putting numbers up, though. Anglers are still out there. They're still pushing. Carolina casters now up to 28 inches. So either someone has good cell reception for a minute, or maybe the bite's starting to turn on for them. So don't take them out just yet, as they're still going to try to make up ground. It's not unheard of. Louisiana Hurricanes trailing behind the band at 17 1/4 to 175.5. And the Warhawks still sitting top over the Privateers, 44.5 against their 14 inches. So John Fuchs is the top of the leaderboard for week 6 at 110. Lisa, I hope you get reception. I really do. Going from me being your co-host last week to now you're on the water, it'd be nice to ask you questions when you're on the water, especially with the conditions that you're going to be fishing in. I want to know what's going on in Texas. I want to know what's happening around the rest of the nation, wherever you're fishing at. So please, by all means, click on that link or let me know if you need a link sent to you directly. I'll try to make sure that we make that happen right away so we can get you in on the broadcast. And reaching out to some of the anglers right now on Messenger, so that way we can at least keep some good communication going for their entries. So bear with me while we do this. Yeah. So as I start to kind of go through some of the entries, I want to make sure I keep everyone's entries officiated to the quickest extent possible. I want to make sure I'm not streaming anything like that. Yeah, I'm not streaming that part. That's not going to be for everyone to see. It's not appropriate for that. But talking to me about Vassen is. Please help educate me about any of your teams out there and what you think is that's something that I need to know. That it may take a little bit longer for me to learn as I'm starting to go through some of the broadcasting here for them. I want to know, where are your strengths? What do you believe maybe some of your weaknesses are? How is your team going to advance to the next week and ultimately to the playoffs? What's going to be that winning mindset that you have, that game plan? What is the game changer for you where you're at? Let me know, please. Even if you're not broadcasting, please send me a message so that way we can talk about it. So 19 and yeah. Again, so for the code today it was Lima 2 Foxtrot, just in case you didn't have that. Lima 2 Foxtrot, L2F. L2F. So make sure I don't have anyone streaming. Yep, no one up here yet. Yeah, I want to give a quick apology for before we had. So we had when we broadcast, we have several different links that we'll click on to broadcast everything out to where we have to for Facebook and YouTube. And I think I had one. I know I did. I had one of the wrong ones. I want to thank Greg for pointing that out because I didn't even see that. I thought I had the right one clicked. It was KBBT I had clicked and not KFL on one of them. So at least we have it fixed now. I resent the link. Yes, ma'am. We talked about that this morning. So Ms. Brown said John's last name is pronounced Fox, just to make it easier. I 100% will make sure I say Fox. Yes, ma'am. I do not want to butcher anyone's last name. I have that with my name sometimes when people are trying to pronounce it, they leave out the T, not a big deal. But I want to make sure I don't upset anyone. Especially don't want to upset the missus. I don't need anyone beat me up. So the temperatures that we had here today, golly. If we're looking right now for the local region, so it's only showing 81 degrees, pushing up to the total of 88. So it's not as bad as it was before, but that means the water temperature is going to be sitting in the 80s because it was, I think, was it before the storms? It was right around the 90, 92 mark, pushing down because we had the rain. So storms dropping the water temperature helps out a little bit, but not enough. It's really coming down for us in the local region of Virginia where I can talk to. It's talking about the ebb and flow of that tidal basin. The water's coming in. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it, ma'am. So she was, you can read on the side here. Miss Brown was just reassuring me. So I appreciate it. Yeah, but so with those water temperatures sitting where they're at, it really is playing the tide. It's playing the tide, finding those shaded areas that we can in any kind of structure and cover. So that means we're going to be going to what kind of game? Obviously, when it comes to the tidal basin, with all this muck that's kicked up into the Potomac, if you've ever fished the Potomac, you know it is a mud bath. It can be a mud bath. It can be some pretty harsh water. You get a ring around your kayak that you've got to rinse off and wipe off with some OxyClean, so to speak. So one of the things that happens now is you start to see, you got to go to a bridle lure. You got to make a lot of turbulence in the water, start to push and get those fish to really notice because they're going to be doing what? They're going to be lateral line fishing, not so much sight fishing. That means that you've got guys like Mike Hogan pushing out there this morning. He was showing us what he was throwing with a spinner bait, and he had a chatter spoon. It was a flutter spoon on the very front of it. That's a lot of turbulence to kick up into the water there. But if that works, by all means, you got to get those bass to wake up. Hey, that's what we got to be doing. We got to go big and loud, double willow. Heck, even if it was a Colorado, Indiana blade, I wouldn't care at this point. As long as I know I'm making waves going through the water, pulling through, that's what we're going to be hitting. Cover, structure, and in the shade. As the water's starting to come up, I know we're over a little over a foot in the tidal basin. Where's that structure and cover at? How are we going to move it and try to make a plan for that now? Me personally, if I'm going to find my laydowns and brush piles, I'm going to be trying to flip into there. Even if I go, not so much, you're not going to be able to go weedless Senko to make that turbulence, but if you have the clarity to do so, by all means, try to get in there weedless so that way you can try to get those guys who are sitting in those money spots, those bigger bass that are sitting in those money spots. On days like today where the sun is down, starting to get, just before it gets midway in the sky, finding that shade and cover that we have is going to be instrumental and ideal. So those docks that we have out on the tidal basin, I know exactly where I'm going to be hitting. For the Potomac, there's a couple places you can put in that are pretty ideal. Occoquan's got, the nice ramp at ORP, which is Occoquan Regional Park, a ton of docks around that area. But there are a lot of public play ground, so to speak, when it comes to the waterway there. A lot of kayakers, a lot of recreational kayakers especially. So what happens now is you get all those boaters under the water, especially the gas-powered boaters, and it starts to push all those wakes through there. It starts to, makes things a little bit more difficult for you. So if you're like John Fox down there in Florida and you can find a lake where you're by yourself, it can make ideal conditions. And maybe that is what's attributing to his success. And plus, it seems like he's a very skilled angler. Hang on one second. I'm going to make sure I check my messages on the message board. All right. Let me respond real quick to Lisa. All right. So, and as we're saying, so when it comes to Potomac right now, before early in the morning, it was really choked out. That means all that grass, all that cabbage that's out there, it's going to make it very difficult. You're not going to be able to fish along the shorelines in those areas under the docks where you're used to. Everything's going to be completely choked out. And so it's going to make it for a very, very tough bite. So you got to get out, move around, and find a place where you can at least stay static enough to where you can start to get those lures in there and get them back in there where those fish are hiding out, or at least try to turn them on. I personally, I think of like 8 rods total. And sometimes I'll throw a 9th one on the front. But that's only because I'm just the kind of guy I like to be prepared for anything. I don't like to be unprepared whatsoever for any conditions. That way, if anything changes up, I know I go to that. Now, other anglers, they're only going to stick to the things that they know work for them. And surprised enough, they make it work no matter what the conditions are. Sometimes I kind of second guess myself, and maybe that's kind of my problem I have to get around when it comes to catching bigger ones so I can stay competitive. Especially in the tough bites in the summertime. My preferred time, spring, fall fishing. And let me tell you, as we get through the summer, we start to roll up into the fall, things are going to get exciting, especially. So that means in the next weeks coming, it's going to be interesting to see who's coming out at the winner on top of the boards today as we push into week 7. Brian Thomason, down here in Florida, we were expecting some tropical effects, and the track shifted last night. Now the guys have bluebird and maybe a breath of wind. Plans change for sure. Yes, absolutely. Definitely working Fox. So definitely working or rooting. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I appreciate the update for Florida. I didn't have the weather for them pulled up. I just had the local region, and I wanted to find out about Texas as well. And then let me check and see where we're sitting with the others on the leaderboard. And I'll go ahead and bring it up for you guys to check out. Week 6. Add to the stream for you. All right. Yeah. Warhawk's still sitting over the Privateers, but Privateers slowly creeping up now, 28 inches up on the board. So let's find out who's contributing right now for the Privateers. Not to say the team isn't, but who's on there right now. So you got Ray Montez and of course James Quinn. So that's pretty good though. So 14-14. That, hey, let the Warhawks know, hey, they're still there. They're not out by any means whatsoever. Hurricanes own the Bandits. Bandits right now 175.5, but I think the Hurricanes are making a little bit of a little headway as well. Yeah, they are a monster. So we'll get those up there in just a second. I'll get those officiated. That way we can keep everything as accurate as possible on the board. And I know when you're on the water, you want to know if your fish has been certified or not. So Copperhead's 162 3/4 over the Carolina Casters 48 1/4. Still waiting on either cell service or some entries coming from the Rough Riders against the Hogs. Like I said, tough matchup when it comes to the Ambassadors and the Appalachian Anglers. Hit it on that only because I've been giving a little bit of background. The more we can get someone to talk about Southeast Texas's Rough Riders against the Hogs, I want to find out more. I want to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods down there, over there, to find out what you have playing to your advantage. Is it a tough bite right now? Is it just bad cell phone reception? I'm going to say it's probably a little bit of both, but the cell phone reception definitely is playing a factor, because we had Lisa trying to log on before and coming in into the stream, but we weren't able to bring her up. I think she tried twice too. So anyway, and look at that. I think she's back on here. Hang on. Let's see if we can add her to the stream. Hopefully we got reception where she's at. So Brian, I'm reading what you're saying. It did cool the water temperatures down. Do you know what the water temperature is where you're at? I know when I was checking here just a few days ago, I know here where we had a lot of sun and a lot of heat, temperatures up into I think it was 96 to well over 100, 101, which is incredible here, incredibly hot. It was bringing those temperatures up into the 90s. And heck, it's been like that throughout July mostly. So I'm curious to find out what's going on as far as those temperatures. How is that going to play a role in today's matchup? Now, as we said before, one of the biggest things that we have to worry about now with the cell phone reception is getting your fish submitted. What is the game plan for that? You know it's going to impede some of the fishing time that you have, especially if you're in a horrible area with cell phone reception. So now you're going to have to get off the water earlier. Are you going to have to go to an area where it's good to go off the water? Do you take time away from fishing to try to submit everything? Because when you have that bad reception, Fishing Chaos, I myself know I've had to try 3, 4, 5 times, and watching it try to upload takes a long time. It can take up to 5-10 minutes and absolutely none at all before it tries to recycle. So making sure that you leave yourself a little breathing room, whatever you're going to do, incorporate that plan into your game plan today for making sure you get those fish submitted to keep everything the most recent, current, up to date. So in the meantime, if you have any kind of advice about what you're doing, or not advice, but insight of what you're doing for where you're fishing at, please let us know. Go ahead and log into the stream, or hit me up on Facebook Messenger. I'd be more than happy to bring you into the stream, bring your thoughts in so we can talk about what works for you. For me, I know I'm making movement. I'm definitely a crankbait guy, so I'm sticking shallow, and not so much it's going to be when it comes to the tidal basin right now, unless you can find those that spatter dock and edge along that. But that's what I'm going to hitting. I know those square bills, and also using the chatterbaits. Those are going to work phenomenally today. Hopefully, start to push throughout that murky, muddy water and wake up some of those big bass as the tide comes in. If you've been on the tidal basin, you'll see under the fish finder, you'll see those big schools. All of a sudden, they'll just be there. You'll see them start to move. That's when it's ideal for me to start casting right in the middle of them. I just have to find the ideal spot to stay static, so that way I know every one of those big schools is going to come right by me. I don't have to go try to find them because it's hard. It's hard to fish the tidal basin. Now, if we were on the reservoir, obviously it'd be a little bit different. Traverse the entire bank line, find the structure, creep on them, and make sure that, if you feel that little tug, just go ahead and jack them right there. But that tidal basin, it's on the schedule for a reason, because it gives a lot of change up to what we typically have from the rivers and the reservoirs. But more specifically, it's in some very, very, very tough to fish waters. And so what about your neck of the woods? We're down in either coming from the Midwest, the Northeast, or down south, down in Texas. I know last week when I was talking with Lisa and she was on, they had a lot of rain that was headed their way. In fact, I think we ended the broadcast and it was still raining where she was at. How was that affected? So let's bring Jeremy Baker on. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I appreciate you helping me out. I was starting to get repetitive.
Oh, were you?
I got to learn a lot more about our teams. That way I can speak intelligently about them and not sound foolish, because I'm not going to do that. So how's the bite for you today?
It was decent this morning, just no size.
Nothing in size to be able to put up.
Died off quite a bit now.
So water temperature where you're at, if you don't mind me asking.
88 degrees.
88, yeah. So high 80s.
Yep.
Man almighty. Well, one of the things about the water temperatures that as I've been going over, it plays a little bit of a role right now. I don't think it's going to play too much because it's already super hot anyway, middle of summer. It's going to be the rain either cooling it down, bringing the clouds in, or on the tidal basin, playing the in and out, the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Sticking with the game plan.
Yeah, trying to. It's we're a little behind at the moment. We're gonna try to work our way back up.
No, by all means, it's going to be okay. Sticking to that game plan.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're doing really anything different than we're doing. I think it's just location. That and we've had a lot of bass boats running through here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing about the bass boats too, is that I really wish they would start to crack down on the bass boats. The speed in which they're kind of kicking through some of those areas, it can be ridiculous sometimes. Very unsafe too. If you're standing up and you got to fight those waves now coming in and kicking your kayak around, it can be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing. The wind picks up from time to time, so it's been I'm kind of in some main water area, so everything hits me pretty good.
What has worked successfully leading up to this?
I caught all of them this morning on a frog and a ribbit.
Oh, no kidding. And
I missed two really good ones this morning.
What would you think? What do you think the size was if you had to guesstimate?
Probably 18, 19 on one, maybe close to 20 on the other one.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was just a bad hook set, man. I was trying to force it, anxious. Didn't give it the time to eat it like I'm supposed to.
Let them inhale for a second, wait that 1 second, then jack them.
Yeah, I just got antsy. That's all it is.
No, I know it is. Trust me. Especially if you had a tough bite. It's easy, very easy to get very zealous when you're a little overzealous when you're trying to get on the board with them. I completely get that. Trust me. Now, has the strategy? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think I've caught 7 or 8 now, but that 14-inch rule is killing me.
Yeah, I can only imagine, right? Move my chair here. I can only imagine. You're used to one throughout the entire season, and then you got to go to the 14. It's like, oh my God, what is going on? Like nothing wants to find your hook in that ideal range. Has your game plan changed at all leading up to this week?
Maybe a little since I got here, having to compensate for some of the boats, bigger boats, and the weather's a little different than what they were saying as far as cloud cover and overcast and stuff.
Yeah.
So it changed a little bit of some color that I'm throwing, but other than that, not really. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff. Like I said, everybody kind of fishes this lake pretty similar.
Yeah. So once you get the overhead cover, go to darker colors or whatever it is that you prefer. But I know same thing is up in Virginia. We get on the Potomac in that muddy water, and we're competing for a couple other things too. We're the bass, being our preference, but we still have snakeheads up here that are going to be hitting the same type of lures and stuff.
So we have bowfin, which is a grinnell.
Yeah.
And they will absolutely destroy any bait they hit.
Yeah,
I caught one and it turned 4-aught hook into a spiral.
Wow. Yeah, that's why we got to go truck hard and super, super thick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it to where I've heard it's gotten to be so strong on the line when it came to a snakehead that I actually heard the pink, and that's when it straightened out I think it was a gamakatsu if I had it at the time. Now, still a great hook. It's still good tackle to use, but yeah, I know what you mean. Those big fish,
Yeah.
because they fight so much and they're just solid muscle. They're like torpedo and explosive power. They can ruin your gear. So what once was a favorite chatterbait used for bass and catching big bass is no longer a favorite chatterbait because it's no longer usable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We were fishing Lake Caddo, and we had a tournament out there for our local trail. I caught 6 of those bowfin, and I went through like a jackhammer and like 4 or 5 hooks.
Oh, yeah. Jackhammer is that's a $20 lure right there. It's like throwing a $20 bill in the water and saying, "Here, go ahead and just keep the change." You don't like that. I definitely don't like that. I have a whole box.
What's funny is they hit so hard. It's like an instant adrenaline rush. So you think it's like, oh, I got me a 10-pound fish or something.
Yeah.
He's up to the boat. It's one of them nasty dinosaurs, and
yeah. It's funny because have you ever caught a large carp, either intentionally or on accident?
Accidentally, yes.
Yeah, I was over at Chapawamzik over here in our area, and this was last year. Using a square bill up against the bank and hooked into something, and man, at the time I didn't have a motor on my boat, on my yak, and it started pulling my yak all around. I mean, it was like you could hear the winding of the reel and everything. I was so excited. I mean, I was adrenalized. I was pumped. I was screaming to my buddy. I'm like, "Bro, this is a beast. It's a monster." 7-pound carp. I was so pissed. Like, are you kidding me? And how do you catch a carp on a square bill? It foul hooked it into the tail. That's why I was like, why does it feel so weird? But it pulled me all over that dang place.
Yeah.
So I know the ones that fool you. The ones that fool you. So if you had before, like I was saying, if you had any ideas about fish conservation, giving back for our future generations for bass fishing, do you have anything that really kind of stands out for you that either A, can help give back, or B, that we can at least put a stop to? We're bringing up bow fishing. I don't know if you had heard that conversation before we had with Greg and Mike when they were on. Bow fishing is one of the biggest things that really, takes away from our natural resources. Do you have anything like that you feel strongly about?
Yeah, I think like here in Texas, we have a lot of like small fishing ponds and stuff that the state puts together, and they stock these ponds, and you're not supposed to keep these fish. And a lot of people go out there and just clean house, fill a cooler, and bolt. And those are set up so that not only adults can enjoy, but it's a good place to start teaching our youth how to fish and learn to work certain baits and things like that. And if there's no fish in there, they kind of lose interest pretty quick because there's nothing to catch. So
right.
I've got a little pond close to my house. It's our city park, and it's been wiped out, man. Like, they stocked it a few years back, but it's nothing but catfish, and they're small at that. I mean, they may be 1.5 pounds at the biggest.
Wow. So, catfish they're also an invasive species, and they do a lot more harm than good when it comes to trying to maintain some type of ecosystem that has equilibrium to it. The thing is that it's kind of a double-edged sword for me because I love catfish. I grew up catfishing on the rivers where I grew up at in Iowa. But that doesn't mean, though, that they're not doing more harm than they are good, because their numbers just explode. Personally, I would much, much rather catch, big bass than I would catfish any day of the week. But that's not to say that there's not a part that they play when it comes to the ecosystem. And then kind of come back full circle to what we're talking about, teaching our youth and bringing them out to areas where we know they're going to be able to catch fish and to educate them. That for me is going to be something that also touches my heartstrings for my youth. I know every kid when they're in their very, very young years, if their dad or their mom isn't taking them out to go fishing and they're not learning it at school, it's just them getting out and taking their bike, riding it like I used to. We had a place called Swan Lake, which is actually a pond. I'll let it look at it, but trying to learn on my own. And this is really what kind of grew into the passion that I have today. So having said that, is that something that, if you look at it, is that something that helped influence you from your youth, or was bass fishing something that you got into later on in life?
Man, it was weird. Fishing was like the only thing that would calm me down, dude. I was like, 900 miles an hour nonstop all the time when I was a kid. The only thing that would slow me down was going fishing. And I started tournament fishing when I was 8 with
Wow,
my dad.
really?
Yeah, and just kind of evolved from there. You know, working skills and perfecting my craft.
What would you say your most memorable catch is from your youth?
From my youth,
From your youth,
man, me and my dad, we used to go to a lake called Lake Welsh here in East Texas, and it used to be lights out. Like you could throw a little popar, chrome and black, and there was so much lily pads and grass, and the lake level was right. The fish would literally hit it as before it ever even hit the water. They would come out and smash that popar, and it just a fun day. Like almost every cast into a hole in the grass and lily pads, and you wind up smacking one, and it was fun. We won out there a few times like that in tournaments.
So I can't believe you started fishing tournaments when you were 8 years old. I first of all, where I'm from, that they don't have that. They didn't.
Yeah,
have that.
So it was a all men's tournament trail here in the East Texas area. And for the longest, they thought my dad was catching my fish until they decided to make us like swap partners or whatever. And when they did that, I wound up catching the only fish in the whole tournament for the guy when I was with him.
No kidding.
Yeah. But
So
that was a long time ago.
No, for sure. So what has lasted from your childhood to now today? What has lasted? Is it a specific style of rod and reel that you use, crankbait, bait that or lure that you throw? What is it that you've carried over?
My dad started making spinner baits and buzz baits, and
Nice.
I started doing that. So I have my own spinner bait and buzz bait company that I make baits with. Yeah. It's called Air Raid Tackle. But I started doing that, and I learned how to do that from him, watching him all those years, picking it up, kind of tweaking things my own little style, and seems to work pretty good.
And you've been able to fine tune it to where you got it just right for yourself, right?
Yeah, it's all, custom hand painted, hand tied skirts.
And you said that was spinner baits?
Spinner baits and buzz baits.
That's pretty cool. First of all, I'm taking notes because I want to know about our anglers out there, fellow anglers. So if you don't mind, these are just notes I'd like to take so I can go and reference later on.
Yeah, no problem.
So if you had your top 3 in your tackle box right now, wow, that's a term from the past, your tackle box. Remember the ones that used to open up with the 3 drawers and the cascades? Now I just have my blanket box. So what would you say your top 3 are in your arsenal right now?
Probably a buzz bait to start out with. That's been pretty good for me so far in some of the lakes we've been fishing and stuff. As much as I hate it, probably a wacky rig.
I love a wacky rig.
I can't. I'm doing it now. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I was watching you flip. I was trying to figure it out because I haven't seen your bait yet.
Yeah,
it's only because you like fast pace.
Do what?
Is that only because you like moving fast pace, like power fishing?
Yeah. So I guess you classify me as a power fisherman, like heavy pound test line or braid, quick moving baits. That's a turtle. Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of finesse fishing. I don't think I own any line less than about 18 pounds.
Yeah. See, how can you keep anything that heavy on a spinning reel? Man almighty, if I get anything above 10-pound test, I'm flying off the reel. I'm getting twisted up. It drives me nuts. However,
this is 20 pound right now. And the only reason I'm running it so heavy right now is because I'm there's a lot of grass and stuff.
There we go. Right in there, buddy. Put you on solo.
Oh, he got off.
Oh, it's just going solo on. What do you say that size was?
Probably 17, maybe.
17? Well, throw it back out there and try to get another one. I'm sorry about the tough break. Tough break. That's definitely
Dude,
you could have used.
I've lost too many fish today.
You know, it's not to. Obviously, I love. You know, I love talking to people to find out what their preferences are. Because I love finesse fishing. I'm the opposite. I love my power fishing. Don't get me wrong. I'm always loving moving out, crankbait, square bills along grass lines, spinner baits. But when that isn't working, I'm all about finesse fishing, and I've got very, very specific tackle. Huh? Say again.
I've had to slow down a lot. I was moving quite a bit quicker earlier. I think I just found a good little pocket here, but yeah, I was moving a lot faster earlier this morning, and it quit working. And I've seen people all around me, and they're moving real slow. And I saw a bass boat up the way here about 200 yards, and they were moving slow and caught a couple. I think that was but I think I was moving too fast, and that's the bite dive didn't adjust when I should have.
Yeah, that's the thing about finesse fishing. You know, it's tough because when you're out there casting, you're waiting for it to fall and sink. Whether you're using a Senko, whether you're throwing a soft jerk bait or a swim bait, letting it sink. Because I was doing that for a while in post spawn. I was nose hooking mine, and it seemed to work pretty well. Or even a Ned rig. Not so much with the Ned rig because it depends on the weight you're using. But if you use anything weightless, waiting for it to hit the bottom is brutal because that's when you're afraid. You're letting the line up. You don't want it to pendulum as much, but you're just waiting for something. You're not using braid and using that fluorocarbon, you're not going to have the sensitivity of braid that you need, and you can miss a lot more than you think.
Well, that one I didn't even realize it was on there until it was coming at me.
Mm-hmm. That's happened to me so many times with finesse fishing. In fact, I would venture.
Fish too.
Yeah, I switched over to a new. Well, I've had it for a while now, but I switched over to a new form of tackle on the way the hook is shaped. You know, and it's made by Spearpoint. I got to say I'm not sponsored or anything, obviously, but I got to say they make a great product as far as getting it in and sticking it in. With that thing coming off. So, yeah, because I found that those round hooks were I was losing a lot of hookups that I had. And once I switched over, man, it helped me tremendously. So
I think just like a Gamakatsu 3/0. I mean, nothing real crazy. And I maybe a 2/0. I dropped down some to try to slow down or shorten the profile on it,
right?
Just to see if I could get more reaction out of it.
Get a little bit more action in the water there. Wake them up. Show them what's up. Show them where you're at.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. What's the temperature where you're at right now?
Outside.
Yes, sir.
Like ambient temperature.
I'm sorry, you said what?
Ambient temperature?
Yes, sir.
It's probably maybe 90. I don't know, maybe.
Man. So really to get that bass bite going on, you're going to need a steady wind coming in, a light breeze.
It's blowing about 1 to 2.
What do you think would be ideal for you? 5, 6 max?
A little more wind, but I like moving baits a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, you own a spinnerbait buzzbait company, so I would assume you do.
Yeah. The moving baits are my friend. So, but yeah, I do a lot. Like I said, power fishing. I'm just kind of getting into this like lighter style fishing, finesse fishing. It's something I've tried to work on pretty much all year this year is to broaden my skill set, you know, that way
sharpen the edge. Sharpen the hone the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honing the blade. I got you.
Sorry. Oh,
No, please don't let me distract you. I'm
dang
not
it.
trying to take away from your fishing. I'm
No,
not trying to take away from your fishing at all.
I missed another one. Dang it.
Well, it seems like you're on something. You're doing something right then, because if you had these, you had one on, you had one that you just missed, and you're doing finesse, then maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think slowing it down, I figured it out. That fish, I should have had that fish.
No, by all means.
It just started spooling all of a sudden when I went to set the hook, and I've got the tension all the way up.
No, so I was looking on the board right now.
Yeah, let's not do that.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's pretty bad for us right at the moment.
I mean, okay. Oh, let me go back over. Are you
Missed
on?
another one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that it's not that you're out of reach for making headway to at least get up there to give them a good run for the money with just a couple inches to spare. That's not it at all. I think as we move throughout the day, though, there's probably going to be a little bit of a change, right?
Yeah, I'm sure the sun's breaking out a little more, so I think it's probably something they're a little used to. There's supposed to be a front coming in this evening.
Is that to say then the afternoon bite where they're going to be able to sight fish a little bit more, or just maybe warmer temperatures? Not to say that they need it to be hot or any hotter.
It's probably gonna. I don't know. The sun looks like it's trying to burn the clouds off, and if it does that, it's just gonna be straight heat.
Yeah.
So the water temperature up, they'll tuck up underneath paths and grass, and it'll be all super slow. And that's kind of, I think, what's going on now is it's slowed down quite a bit
because of the heat.
But yeah, I don't know if it's because the sun came up. They kind of shut off on me. So that's why I'm this.
Time. Okay. So what are you, you're just an hour behind the East Coast, right? No, wait, are you 2 hours? You're an hour, right? Let's see here. So I'm going to throw, are you able to multitask right now by me asking you a couple questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
I love facts when it comes to, bass facts, fish facts. I love that. Right. So,
yeah.
All right. So let's start with a couple that I've thrown out on my social media before. Average memory for a largemouth bass. You want multiple choice, or do you know the answer already? You got buzzing going on.
I couldn't hear you. My phone was ringing. Sorry.
No, by all means, it's okay.
What'd you say?
By all means, if you got to take it, take it.
What?
Okay, so quick bass fact. We're waiting, so I can update. I'm going to officiate here in just a little bit, so I can start getting the leaderboards caught up here. But bass's memory. Do you want multiple choice? Or do you
I would
know the
think
answer?
it would be pretty short. They reload pretty fast.
They do. They absolutely do.
I would say a day, maybe.
Okay, you say a day. You do a multiple choice, or is that your official answer? Final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer. So yeah, bass memory, largemouth bass specifically, 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I mean, that's not a lot of time. I have literally caught myself on the water thinking to myself, oh, it's been 20 minutes. I'm good. I can go back. That's the way my tunnel vision gets when I'm out on the water. 15 minutes is not a very long time. Now, obviously, you're not going to count down 15 minutes and say, okay, they forgot. We're talking the average memory, but if
something's wrong with my phone. I can hardly hear you.
No worries.
I'm going to back out and I'll come back in a little bit.
Okay, not a problem. I'm going to officiate anyway. We'll probably take a break. Hey, good luck to you out there in the water and stay safe.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Great. So, hey, special thanks to Jeremy out there. we're going to go ahead and take a pause for the cause. I'm going to go ahead and officiate some of the fish. That way you don't have to just watch me while I do this on the screen. I'll go ahead and say right now it's 10:30. So I'll probably take about 30 to 40. Actually, you know what? I'll take 30 because at 11, we're going to start and go to our other link for our stream so we can bring all 3 on instead of 2. All right. So with that being said, I appreciate it. We'll see you guys in 30. And if you're out there in the water watching this, stay safe and best of luck to you. So we'll see you in just a few.